What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
Boulder Vice Admiral, 1 MB, Chapter 1 West Blue Monster. Advertisement. Kill, haha, damn untouchable, take out all the money in the family. The boss said, whoever grabs everything belongs to him, so hurry up and search. West Blue, a small island called Puilik, has lived here for generations. Everything was so peaceful at first, but today's peace has been broken by a group of pirates. At this time, the yellowed facade of a dilapidated small bar in the center of the town seemed to have not been repaired for a long time. At this time, more than 30 strong men were standing at the entrance of the small bar, surrounded the small bar in groups. Half of these brawny men are fierce-faced pirates, and the other half are gangsters in uniform black suits. Captain Ruskin, this is different from what we agreed. Why do you want to rob this town? Do you know how much trouble it will cause me? Inside the bar, there is a 2-meter-long square table in the middle. A middle-aged man who was also wearing a black suit with a handsome face was facing the opposite side of the table and asked. Sitting opposite was a burly man with a height of 2 meters, with a long scar on his face, which ran across the entire face. At this time, he smiled indifferently to the question just now. Ha ha ha, Jeff, didn't this transaction go smoothly? I paid you a lot of Belia for the arms and weapons this time. This small town is so weak, it just allows me to recoup some of the cost. Gang boss Reynolds Jeff was not very satisfied with Ruskin's answer, and his face was a bit ugly at this time. Ruskin, do you know that this small town is not far from the 166 Marine branch? If you make things so big, Marine will come to your door soon. If you plan to go to the Grand Line, you can disappear, but I have to stay here in West Blue. I would have chosen this town if I knew it. Ruskin smiled. Jeff, you are also the gang leader in this movie anyway, are you afraid of Marine? You are too courageous, this is not the style that the Reynolds family should have. Jeff replied a little angrily. It doesn't matter if other Marine branches come to encircle and suppress me, but this 166 branch has produced a monster seaman in recent years. Last month, it killed the giant sword pirates group. That was a reward of 20 million Baileys. The pirate group. In the past few years, since the monster seaman came, the 166 branch of Marine has been very popular. In recent years, apart from encircling and suppressing many famous pirate groups, even our gangsters have dared to attack, and even the top gang Capone family dare. Do it. After talking, Jeff's complexion still didn't improve, and he felt a little uneasy, and quickly picked up the wine glass on the table to get used to it. Ruskin's expression became happier after listening, the scar on his face became more hideous, and he stood up and laughed wildly with open arms. Ha ha ha, Jeff, you are really old. Even a recruit of Marine who has been a recruit for a few years will be shocked. I am the blood axe of Pele with a bounty of 45 million, Captain Ruskin. I have been in the West Blue for so many years, would I still be afraid of a small seaman? If Marine dares to come, I will help you solve this Marine for the sake of partners. Quote. Boom. A loud noise came from outside the bar, and the ground seemed to shake. What's the situation? ×2. Both Ruskin and Jeff Boss were startled by the sudden shock. Ruskin lifted the big red axe at his feet and hurriedly opened the door of the bar and rushed out. Then Jeff, who came out, looked at Ruskin, who was standing at the door and did not move, and asked puzzledly, what happened? This. After coming out, Jeff saw the outside scene and stood in place like Ruskin was shocked. The scene in front of him was bloody and bloody. Huge rocks appeared on the ground at the entrance of the bar, bloody and bloody under the boulders, and the torn parts of the costumes showed that they were members of the Ruskin pirates and Jeff's gang. Not far from the boulder, there are dozens of huge rock thorns. On the soil thorns are various corpses, all of which are members of Ruskin's pirates. Back to 15 minutes ago. Wearing a Marine uniform, a seaman quickly jumped out of the warship just next to the small island of Long and ran directly towards the town. This seaman is 2.5 meters tall. Looking at the very big seaman, the Marine uniform is worn on him, and his body is tightened by a lot of muscles. All the way to the town, the corpses of small town residents randomly appeared in every corner of the town. Seeing the tragedy in the small town, Fang Zheng's big face showed an angry expression. If someone was nearby, he would find this tall body exuding a depressive breath, and it was even difficult to breathe. Advertisement. The Marines walked into the center of the town step by step and saw a group of pirates gathering in the distance, carrying out a carnival for the successful looting. Damn trash on the sea. The earth is bound. In the center of the town, the pirates who were still drinking and reveling did not notice that a tall figure appeared in the distance. At this time, the ground began to surging, and there seemed to be large hands on the ground that firmly grasped the pirate's body, and the pirate's feet were directly plunged into the ground, unable to move. What is this? Ah, save Lousy, Lousy can't get out. The pirates began to struggle, but still couldn't break free. At this time, one of the pirates trapped in the spot spotted the seaman sharply and shouted directly. Who are you? Is this a means by you? Let Lousy out quickly. The Marines looked blankly at the pirates in front of them, clasping their hands together. Civilians of Pokia, Marine Lucar is late, and justice will be executed for you now. Earth stab. All the pirates in front of Lucar were pierced by soil thorns emerging from the ground, and none of the restrained pirates could escape. After Lucar finished killing these pirates, the pirates and gangsters who were facing the entrance of the bar not far away were not relieved by the scene before him. They raised one hand to the sky and waved downward. Rockslide. Large boulders condensed in the sky, and directly fell on the pirates and gangsters outside the entrance of the bar in the distance. There was only a huge bang, and all the pirates in front of him were wiped out, and there was not even a complete body. Call. Lucar sighed faintly, and did not feel relaxed after killing these pirates. His eyes were a little blurred, as if he was thinking of something. Yes, Lucar is not a person in this world. He is a traverser. He was also a soldier in his previous life. After being discharged from the army, he was in a car accident and crossed into this world. Coming to this strange world, who originally wanted to spend this life peacefully, and honestly be an ordinary civilian, who can think that this world is too chaotic now. This world is more unstable than Lucar imagined. There are pirates and gangs everywhere. It is hard to think of in the past peaceful years. Lucar had never been in contact with One Piece animation when he was young when he was enlisted in the army, otherwise he would find that the world before him is a phenomenon-level comic from a previous life. When Lucar was 15 years old, pirates invaded the town where he lived. Although the marine forces responded quickly and quickly repelled the pirates, Lucar's only family brother in the world was separated in the chaos. There is no news so far. Starting from the disappearance of his younger brother, Lucar resolutely chose to join the army again and joined Marine to fight criminals madly. Only Marine can let him better execute justice. It has been 5 years since Lucar joined Marine. In these years, he has understood one thing. In this world, without sufficient strength, nothing can be done. If you want to fight against pirates and protect civilians in the army, you must have a certain level of strength in this world where the strong will emerge in large numbers. Fortunately, Lucar accidentally ate a devil fruit when he first joined the army. After these training and development, Lucar became stronger in battle after battle. This world is magical, and it has become powerful to communicate in various ways. Some powerful people reported in the news have the ability to destroy the world. Over the years, the strong are basically in the 3 categories of swordsmanship, physical skills, and devil fruit, and occasionally there are subcategories of spear skills. Among them, devil fruit has 3 categories, namely zone devil fruit, paramesha devil fruit, and logia devil fruit. Lucar's is called the earth fruit, which belongs to logia devil fruit, but it cannot be as elemental as logia, and is more inclined to the paramesha devil fruit ability. The earth fruit can transform the power of the earth. As long as it stands on the ground, it can continuously provide physical strength. Power. The rock before it is controlled by the power of the earth. What happened? A shout interrupted Lucar's memory, and it was Ruskin and Jeff who walked out. Chapter 2 Justice does not accept compromise. Advertisement. You did it. Ruskin looked at everything in front of him angrily, and shouted at the only living seaman in front of him. Having been in West Blue for many years, the pirate group with a scale of 100 people has just obtained a large number of arms and supplies. Ruskin is ready to embark on a new journey to the Grand Line, but in an instant it turned into a bubble and became a polished commander. Well, you will be like them, rubbish on the sea. Lucar said calmly on his face. No matter in his previous life or now, Lucar is full of distaste for pirates. He doesn't want to say a word to such pirates who slaughter civilians. He just wants to hurry him to hell. For many years in the army, Lucar saw too many pirates burn, kill, and rob in West Blue, and some stable town life was completely destroyed. Countless civilians whose homes were destroyed wandered on the streets. In order to survive the robbery and crime, some even became pirates and turned into dragons, causing more and more pirates to kill. Of course, there are many ambitious heroes who want to become pirates in order to dream, but as long as they become pirates, they rarely fail to rob and destroy. I'm going to kill you. Ruskin carried his 2-meter tomahawk and rushed towards Lucar. The earth is bound. Lucar had a right hand and wanted to trap Ruskin in the same way. But when Ruskin noticed some fluctuations in the ground, based on years of combat experience, he instantly felt something wrong, and jumped up at the speed of his running, avoiding the big yellow hand from the ground. He bounced at the moment he landed, leapt towards Lucar, and draped the axe fiercely in his hand. How can it be? A thick left hand directly blocked Ruskin's large axe. The blade of the axe did not even touch the body of this hand. There was a light yellow film on the outer surface of the left hand, which blocked the large axe like an armor. Outside. Ruskin's complexion instantly turned pale, his full blow actually didn't even have the ability to hurt the opponent, and he was a bit suspicious of life in an instant. Shard rock fist. Bang. Of course, Lucar would not miss such a good opportunity. While his left hand resisted the opponent's attack, his right hand directly hit Ruskin's chest with a heavy punch. Bang. Ruskin was directly blown out with a punch, and fell straight to the ground. All the internal organs exploded, and he couldn't even say the last sentence before he died. A pirate powerhouse with a bounty of 45 million Baileys has ended before being on the Grand Line stage. Ended. Lucar was not surprised by this result. He didn't even glance at Ruskin's corpse. He turned and walked towards Reynolds Jeff, who was shivering on the side. No damage was received in this battle, and Ruskin's power did not even break the defense. Yes, Lucar was called a monster in the 166th branch. The most important thing is that strong defense and resilience. Among the abilities currently developed by the Earth Fruit, the attack is not the most prominent. Standing on the ground can greatly increase physical attributes, strength, defense, and recovery. It can also extract the power of the earth and attach it to the whole body to form a solid body, armor. Don't kill me, I'm a member of the Reynolds family, I'm a nobleman, you can't kill me. Jeff's fat face was full of sweat, and he tried to squeeze out a smile and said to Lucar. Jeff recognized Lucar as the monster seaman at the beginning, and originally had a glimmer of hope for Ruskin. Who would have thought that he would be killed directly? With no time to escape, Jeff hated Ruskin's incomparable waste and regretted choosing this small island as a deal. Noble. Now that nobles can't get along and become gangsters. I don't care whether you are a noble or not. Since you choose to be a gangster, you must be conscious. Justice does not accept compromise. Lucar didn't continue to talk nonsense, and directly blasted out a punch. Jeff's head was exploded with a punch. The blood mixed with the unknown white liquid and exploded together. Gangster. Noble. Advertisement. Selena Gomez's 9 lovers. Justin Bieber, Orlando Bloom, and more. Inspire. There is no difference in Lucar's eyes, as long as it is a crime, he will receive sanctions. Soldiers of the 2 generations, the responsibilities of soldiers are deeply engraved in Lucar's bones. Fight crime and protect the safety of civilians. Marine, in this world is to take this responsibility. Bang bang bang. 20 minutes later, 50 or so Marines ran into the town. At the forefront was a Marine Lieutenant Junior grade named Lance, who was also in charge of this operation. After entering, the group felt sad and angry when they saw the miserable situation in the town. They walked all the way into the center of the town and saw the corpses of the group of pirates. Lance then ordered the Marines next to him. Everyone dispersed, searched for survivors, and saw Sergeant Lucar report to me immediately. With the wanted slip in his hand, he approached and inspected the corpses of these pirates and gangsters. Blood Axe pirates, Captain Ruskin, really damn it, even ordinary civilians. How come there are still gangster corpses? It seems that it was Lucar's hand. Is this a member of the Reynolds family? It's troublesome, and Lucar started too quickly. After checking Jeff's body, he was aware of his identity through the letters and seals in his clothes. Lance was grateful for the destruction of the Blood Axe pirates. The brutal and direct massacre of the pirates like West Blue was also a minority, but he felt a headache for the destruction of the Reynolds noble gang and even the death of the direct nobles. The Reynolds family does not have a lot of influence in West Blue. Several generations of aristocrats have inherited an important position in several kingdoms, and can even control the kingdom's domestic decision-making. If you know that an important member of the family here has died, you can imagine how many light and dark complaints will be targeted after the 166th branch. Other ordinary Marines are not as strong as Lucar. Report Lance Lieutenant Junior grade. It has been found that Sergeant Lucar is located. Sergeant Lucar organized more than 30 survivors not far to the north of the town to help bury the victims. A Marine ran to Lance to report. Well, work harder, let Lucar come over to see me, and notify the other Marines to come and help. Yes. When Lucar returned to the town, the sky had gradually dimmed. In the center of the town, it's still that little wine. Lance stepped on the large amount of arms placed in the bar and asked Lucar, Lucar, do you know that the gang boss is a member of the Reynolds family? I know, the other party said it. Lucar sat at the bar with a look of indifference, and didn't care. By the way, I found a bottle of wine and took a big sip. I have encountered this kind of questioning from the superior too many times. Well, this wine is not good, but the liquor from my hometown is more vigorous. Next time, I will find someone who can make wine to help make it up. Lucar has few hobbies, wine is one of the few hobbies, and because of physical problems, it is not easy to get drunk. Knowing that he is a member of the Reynolds family, did he kill it directly? With your ability, you can easily capture it and bring it back to the base. Do you know how much trouble it will cause us to kill directly? Oh, just killed it, hiccups. Lucar replied while drinking, and he also hiccups by the way. Lance watched Lucar's anger gradually rise, and pointed at Lucar with one finger. Are you listening to me? Lucar ignored it, grabbed a bottle of wine and walked out. When he walked to the door of the bar, he stopped and looked back at Lance. Justice does not accept compromise. Lance saw that the moment he turned his head, that square face was full of determination, and his eyes were very firm. The tall body looked like a lion in the moonlight, telling his firm belief. Gone. After speaking, Lucar took a firm step and left directly. Chapter 3 Opportunity. Advertisement. West Blue, 166 Marine Branch. At the center of the Marine Branch is a 3-story office building with a blue and white Marine flag flying on the roof. Marine Base Chief Office on the 3rd floor. Sitting at the center is a bearded man of nearly 40, who is Lieutenant Colonel Barlow, the commander of the 166 Marine Branch. Smoking a cigar in one hand and holding a document in the other, the content of the document is the report of the invasion of the Pokea pirates. Lieutenant Colonel Barlow frowned when he saw the final report that the Reynolds family members were killed, put down the papers and rubbed his temples, and sighed. Hey, how come there are those bastards in the Reynolds family? Damn, you have to wrestle with these dogs. The 2 Marines sitting on the sofa opposite Lieutenant Colonel Barlow heard the voice and looked over. It was Lance Lieutenant Junior grade and Lucar who had returned to the base. Captain Barlow, this time Lucar is acting alone again, directly killing the people of the Reynolds family. I can't stop him at all. Lance explained. Forget it, that's it. Barlow waved his hand and took a cigar. For this result, Barlow was not too surprised by the content of the report. Over the years, the gang has used various kingdoms to put pressure on Barlow, the head of the 166 branch, and he has become accustomed to the trouble Lucar brings. Barlow also understood that the original strength of the 166 branch was average, and before Lucar joined, he could only fight ordinary little pirates. Although Lucar caused a lot of trouble after joining, he gained the reputation of the 166 branch, and the headquarters gave a lot of support, so the form can be stabilized under the target of all parties. It can be said that he loves and hates Lucar. Since it's okay, I'll go now, Lucar said from the side, standing up and preparing to leave. It is not usually reported by Lucar. After all, it is only a sergeant rank. This time Lieutenant Colonel Barlow notified Lucar to follow along. Don't go now, there is another big thing, it's about Lucar you. Barlow said, his face slowly became happy. My business. Well, didn't you apply to me for the past headquarters? Normally, it is quite difficult for the branch to transfer to the headquarters, and now there are new opportunities. At this point, Barlow laughed. What opportunity? Lucar asked, and his original expression began to relax. Regarding the application to go to the headquarters, Lucar applied to Barlow last year, and there has been no news. Lieutenant Colonel Barlow took a cigar, breathed out slowly, and said. The headquarters recently issued a notice that Zephyr Admiral was transferred to Marine School as an instructor and set up the first batch of recruit training camps. The headquarters let each branch select young, promising and talented soldiers and send them to the headquarters. The best thing in our branch is you, Lucar. Don't you also yearn for the headquarters? I will put you on the list. Barlow is a little excited to say here. Lucar, you have passed the list review, and in another week, the headquarters warship will stop here to pick up West Blue recruits to the headquarters. Lance, who was listening, looked at Lucar with envy, and said in a complicated mood, congratulations. Unexpectedly, Lucar didn't accept any punishment for this reporting job and instead gave him a huge pie. For the vast majority of Marine soldiers in the Marine branch, Naval Headquarters is a sacred place. They are looking forward to the goal. If there is a chance to serve in Naval Headquarters, no one will miss this opportunity. The Four Seas branch and the Grand Lines Marine branch and Naval Headquarters are completely two concepts. Normally, the soldiers of the Sea High branch are about 3 ranks lower than the headquarters. Like Lieutenant Colonel Barlow, if the position of base chief is not just a military rank, it is placed in Naval Headquarters, which is only lieutenant junior grade. Lance is not too old, in his early 30s, but limited by talent, it is basically impossible to transfer to the headquarters in this life. The best development is to take over as the base chief. Recruit training camp. I have been a Marine for 5 years, why do I still need to train new recruits? Don't try to transfer to other positions, as long as it's on the front line, the jumble soldier will do. Lucar didn't quite approve of entering this department in this way. Lucar, who has been in the 166 branch for 5 years, has stagnated in his growth. At present, the cruising and hunting of pirates can only be carried out in the sea area under the jurisdiction of the 166 branch, and the area of responsibility is limited. Advertisement. The pirates that can be encountered, the gangs rarely bring pressure, and it is difficult to help him to improve through battle. The Marine headquarters, where all of Marine's best people are concentrated, is strong and can better help improve themselves. But by going to the headquarters as a recruiter, Lucar was still very resistant. In fact, the real reason is that Lucar is not only mindful of the physical fitness in the training camp, but also the training of combat. For this, he is very confident of his own strength. But what I am most afraid of is the study of cultural courses. I am worried that cultural courses will be required after going to the headquarters. He is a fool, and learning cultural courses is a nightmare. Lucar's face became dark when he thought of these expressions gradually stiffening. Barlow on the other side saw this look, so he was not angry. What are you idiot thinking? I don't know the great things. Lucar, you need to know that you are a genius with strength and talent in our 166 branch, but for the whole sea, you don't know how many geniuses like you are. You don't know if you can rank in Naval Headquarters. Moreover, the recruit training camp instructor is Zephyr Admiral, Marine's top powerhouse. No Marines don't want to be his disciples. The first batch to join the training camp must be the best genius Marines from all branches of Marine. This opportunity is very rare. I don't know when there is such a good chance. Lieutenant Colonel Barlow's tone slowly became gentler. He really didn't want Lucar to waste such an important opportunity. Lucar silently listened to Lieutenant Colonel Barlow's rare gentleness to persuade him, and the messy thoughts in his heart were thrown behind his head. Then he stood up and paid a military salute to Lieutenant Colonel Barlow, and said firmly, I, Lucar, will let everyone see the justice from the 166 branch. Lieutenant Colonel Barlow and Lance Lieutenant Junior Grade stood up and returned a military salute. For Marines' justice. After speaking, Lieutenant Colonel Barlow sat on the office chair again and waved his hand. Okay, come on, the meeting is over. After leaving the base chief's office, Lucar said goodbye to Lance Lieutenant Junior Grade and ran out of the base all the way. Behind the branch base, there are 4 small hills connected by bare low mountains. It is not a short distance from the branch base, and it takes an hour for ordinary people to come. 20 minutes later, Lucar ran to the gentle zone in the middle of the hill. This is his dedicated exercise site, where most of his abilities were developed. Why don't you exercise at Marine base? You have to run in such a deviated place. No way, Lucar's fruit ability is sometimes too dynamic when used. At the beginning, he tried to use his abilities at the base, condensing a lot of soil thorns, and directly reorganize the base playground. After that, a sign was posted outside the playground of the base Lucar and dogs are not allowed to enter the playground. Finally, I found this uninhabited hill, and if the movement was slightly larger, it would not affect the base, so I chose it as a dedicated exercise field. Lucar was sitting on a huge rock 2 meters long and wide. With the power of the earth, he recovered his stamina from running, resting his chin in one hand, and began to think about his own abilities. His own most important abilities are the two pieces of physical skill boxing and the fruit of the earth. He has tried sword surgery and found that it is not this piece of material. Taijutsu boxing is mainly the Broken Rock boxing series named by himself, which is based on the unique punching boxing of the previous military physical boxing and the Water Army who borrowed from the Flower Country and his own fighting experience. At present, the strongest development of the earth fruit is the defense power of the earth armor, the resilience of the power of the earth, and the strengthening of its own system. The rock-type attack methods are actually relatively simple, they do not cause outstanding damage to strong opponents, and the aggregation speed is not the fastest. The most important thing is that this type of ability is difficult to use in the sea. Without the help of the power of the earth, the slow condensing speed is difficult to be used in battle. Taking into account now, Lucar understands that his biggest weakness is in the sea, and his combat power will be much reduced. If the combat power is 100 on land, it is only 70 combat power on the sea. Now while waiting for the warship to pick up and drop off from the ship, I still focus my energy on my own physical martial arts. This is completely my own physical power, and it will not be weakened no matter where it is. Lucar looked at his hands, his eyes condensed, the corners of his mouth slightly lifted, he thought of a possibility. Chapter 4 Set Sail. Advertisement. A week later, a large warship is about to reach the island where the 166th branch is located. Norris Rear Admiral is the person in charge of this warship, who is responsible for picking up newcomers from various branches on this trip. At this time, he is looking down at the documents in hand. Lucar, born in Raleigh Island, West Blue, joined Marine in 1485. He is a special Logia fruit capable of fruiting the earth and has a lot of exploits in hunting down pirates. Well, this guy should be the best qualified group of West Blue, but it is West Blue. The quality of the selected newcomers is really high. It is estimated that only North Blue, who has two monster newcomers there, can compare. It's a moment. After reading the information, Norris Rear Admiral glanced back at the group of newcomers from West Blue who were also from West Blue. He was almost 50 years old. In the next few years, Rear Admiral is about to retire. He saw this group of fresh vitality injected into Marine. I feel hopeful for the future of Marine. Beep. The warship reached the island of 166 Marine Branch. Norris walked to the deck and saw that the people of Branch 166 were already waiting at the dock. The leader was Lieutenant Colonel Barlow with a big brown beard. Standing next to Lieutenant Colonel Barlow was a height of 2.5 meters burly man is Lucar, and finally the Marines from the 166 branch behind. Chief Barlow, I am Norris, who was sent by the headquarters to pick up the newcomers. Norris introduced. Oh, Norris Rear Admiral is polite, you broke through the 110 million bounty of the pirate swords feet on the Grand Line a few days ago. After reading the news, I admire it. This time you come in person. It's really fortunate to lead the team. Barlow looked at Norris's rank and was still envious. The branch lieutenant colonel and the headquarters rear admiral have a very large gap in strength and status. Even if Barlow is the position of the base commander, it cannot be compared, and the base commander can barely maintain the same level. Norris Rear Admiral, the next to me is Lucar, a recruit who went to the headquarters this time. Lucar, not yet to say hello to Norris Rear Admiral. Barlow introduced. While Norris was observing Lucar, Lucar was also looking straight at him, not caring about the difference in ranks at all, looking straight at Norris. So strong, he is the strongest person I have seen in the past few years. This momentum is absolutely battle-tested, and will only come after countless life and death battles. Is such a strong Rear Admiral level? As expected, it was from the headquarters. I don't know how many strong people there are in the headquarters, and how strong those top strong ones should be. Norris Rear Admiral, can I challenge you? I want to see the strength of the strong from this department. Lucar did not say hello to Norris. It is rare to be a little excited to meet this level of power, and directly challenge Norris. Lieutenant Colonel Barlow was immediately taken aback next to him. Lucar, what are you talking about? Hurry up and apologize to Norris Rear Admiral. Norris Rear Admiral, this stinky boy is just a kid who has never seen the world before. You must not care about him. Norris looked at him and laughed. Ha ha ha, that's so interesting. The newcomer at West Blue is really energetic, so young. Lucar, we don't need to learn today for the time being. There will be opportunities in the headquarters. Now there is no need to waste time. The guys on the boat are very unconvinced with you. Get on the boat. Lucar nodded silently, strode onto the ship, stood on the deck, looked at Lieutenant Colonel Barlow and the Marines behind him, and saluted him. Goodbye, Marine 166 Branch, my hometown. Barlow and the Marines from the 166 branch stood up straight and responded to the military salute. Finally, seeing Lucar slowly leave, he put his hand down. Everyone's eyes revealed mixed emotions. Although Lucar caused trouble in the 166 branch, he came from the 166 Marine branch after all, and he was also the pride of the 166 branch. This time, the monsters of the 166 Marine branch finally made their way to a larger world stage. Lucar followed Norris into the cabin. The internal activity area of the warship was still quite large. In the cabin, more than 30 recruiters from the training camp had already boarded the ship. This group of Marine newcomers who were going to the training camp were all in the cabin at this time, chatting and discussing each, and seeing a tall Marine newcomer coming in, one by one turned their eyes to Lucar. After Norris confessed his free activities, he turned around and left. Lucar found an empty table and sat down. This is the new monster from branch 166. He is really strong. I don't know if it is as powerful as the rumors. Oh, it's just looking strong, maybe it's a strong outsider. It's not that right, the Lucar who was so famous in West Blue these years should still have 2 brushes. The 166 branch was not well known before. Advertisement. Huh, it's just good luck to take the shit and luck to eat devil fruit. West Blue's sturdy vibe is vividly reflected in this group of recruits. Lucar's reputation over the years, coupled with the secret rumor that Lucar is the strongest in West Blue recruits, few are convinced. You're Lucar, I'm Walker from West Blue 89 Marine Branch. I've long wanted to meet you and make a gesture. Lucar looked back when he heard the voice behind him, and saw a tall man who was also wearing a Marine uniform. This man has a burly figure similar to Lucar, but is nearly 3 meters tall in exaggeration, and has a full-faced beard. If it weren't for the tender face, he thought he would be more than 30 years old. I'm not interested, let's play by yourself. Lucar had no interest at all, and turned back and refused. What I want to find is the really strong people on the ocean in this department. What is it to bully these young people of the same age? For 2 lives, Lucar still has a self-awareness of his actual age. Play. I want to see why you say this. Walker is a grizzly bear fruit ability, is also a top powerhouse in the 89 branch, very confident of his own strength. Seeing Lucar's attitude of ignoring him, a heart surged, and he shot Lucar's shoulder directly. Yeah, that guy Walker made a move, there is a good show to watch. Walker's strength can be ranked in the top 3 among the newcomers who have already arrived, and his shot just can see that the rumored West Blue monster is really so strong. The other recruits around were excited when they saw the conflict, and they were ready to watch the show one by one. Lucar felt the movement coming from behind, his eyes condensed, and a light yellow force radiated from his body and wrapped around the outer layer of his body. Earth armor. When Walker's hand was about to touch Lucar's body, a light yellow film suddenly appeared and directly blocked Walker's hand outside. What? Walker saw the film in front of him and knew that Lucar had taken the shot, but Lucar still didn't look back at him. The anger in his heart grew even stronger. Okay, kind of. Walker glanced at everyone's eyes full of ridicule. Walker, who was already good looking, couldn't help it. His body of nearly 3 meters began to swell, his muscles became more prominent, and his body began to grow gray hair. Walker, who was transformed into an orc, waved his hand to Lucar again, and directly grasped the layer of earth armor attached to Lucar. This time it was different from the last test. This time I used my full strength to squeeze it out, intending to smash this layer of armor directly. Zone Devil Fruit has greatly improved Walker's body, and the strength of the bear fruit grizzly shaped fruit ability in the hand has been greatly improved. At this time, Walker's palm can smash steel casually. This time the earth armor did not directly prevent Walker's attack last time, only a slight click was heard, and a crack appeared on the earth armor. Lucar himself did not expect that some of the newcomers could break through his own layer of earth armor. These were the first few abilities he developed when he had just acquired Devil Fruit, and the most defensive moves. But this time it was on a ship, unable to stand on the ground to be able to spur the power of the earth to replenish at any time. It was spurred by the power of the devil on its own, and the firmness and durability had decreased. It seems that I am a bit too arrogant. This world is really strong, and the younger generation of West Blue has this kind of power. With the armor about to be shattered, Lucar ended the mess of thoughts in his mind and stood up against Walker's strength. Your strength is good, then come to fight. Chapter 5. Advertisement. Walker and Lucar walked towards the wider warship deck area, and the group of recruits also followed out, wanting to watch these 2 famous young powerhouses of West Blue fight. What no one noticed is that Norris Rear Admiral also watched all this quietly on the top of the warship. It's so energetic. I don't know if the people with the Earth Fruit ability can perform well on the sea. Let the old man look at the strength of the so-called monster rookie. Norris recalled the internal information of Marine, that those with the Earth Fruit ability have not been strong in the past. The Earth Fruit ability is considered low in the Logia Fruit ranking. In addition to the same seawater weakness, the Earth Fruit ability cannot be elementalized and the ability to leave the land and come to the sea is greatly weakened. The battle on the deck is about to start. The giant bear rushes. After Walker was transformed into an orc, his combat power was greatly increased, his huge body was like a tank, and he rushed towards Lucar first. Boom. Lucar, who reunited the earth armor on his body, directly waved and punched Walker to block Walker. Both sides used physical skills to attack and respond, fists, and the 2 sides fought a dozen moves. On the contrary, Lucar was somewhat weaker than Walker in strength, and was repelled step by step. No, this is the monster rookie. The recruit next to him muttered. No, the fruit ability can only provide a protective armor, there should be a backhand. One of the marine swordsmen with long red hair frowned. The strength is very strong, just a little weaker than when I was standing on the ground, so let's try the newly developed trick. Lucar didn't feel nervous because of being knocked back a few steps, he had been watching during the battle. The strength of the opponent. Smashed rock fist. Shock. Giant bear arm hammer. The 2 sides fought a dozen more moves. Damn it, why is this layer of broken armor so hard? Walker hated Lucar's armor very much. The difference between this time and the last time is that Walker could not concentrate a little bit of continuous attack. He could not pinch the armor and smash it with all his strength as before, and he could not attack Lucar himself without penetrating this layer of armor. Walker looked at Lucar, who was still calm, and gradually became irritable. However, what Walker didn't notice was that in the fight, a hidden vibrating force in the opponent's fist slowly penetrated into Walker's body, thinking it was an ordinary boxing attack. It's over. Seismic wave. Lucar stepped on the deck with one foot, and a shock of force was transmitted from the deck to Walker. Puff. During the fight, the vibrating force on Walker's body accumulated until he was stimulated by the seismic wave, and two forces from the same source burst on Walker's body. The muscle tissues of his body were shattered one after another, blood was sprayed from Walker, and Walker fainted directly on the ground after receiving a huge pain. What kind of power is this? Suddenly. Very scary. Walker's sudden fall shocked the onlookers watching Marine. The match between the two sides seemed to be evenly matched, but suddenly the winner was decided, and the key point was that they didn't know where to lose. Quickly, take Walker to the emergency room. Lucar, you are too cruel. Norris Rear Admiral jumped directly from the upper cabin, while preparing to check Walker's injury. Lucar explained. I have saved my hands. He is a master of physical skills, plus demon fruit power is not bad, so I can only trigger it after calculating the power. Yes, Lucar has kept his hands. Based on the previous combat situation, he has probably understood Walker's strength. Using seismic waves to resonate the shaking power of the rock fist can just make Walker completely incapable of fighting without serious damage to Walker's body. Norris, who inspected Walker's body, also discovered that the external muscles of the body were injured, and the internal organs were still intact. As a zone fruit ability person, he recovered relatively quickly. Huh, it's okay. I thought this good seedling was directly scrapped by you. Okay, everyone is gone. Now the journey to the headquarters is forbidden to learn from, and some of you to the recruit training camp are for you to use your energy. Place. Norris breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, everyone replied. This time the result almost shocked Norris. He would be held accountable if he returned to the headquarters if he had a problem. He couldn't bear Zephyr's accountability. Advertisement. Lucar walked back to the dormitory area under the gaze of everyone. This time the recruits cast their eyes full of fear and admiration. Phew, there is a huge gap in combat capability between the sea and the land. This is my biggest weakness. I hope I can learn something to make up for these shortcomings when I go to the headquarters this time. After Lucar found his dormitory, he was lying on the ground doing push-ups in the room, while thinking about his own ability on the other side. On the sea surface, Lucar can only use his physical skills to launch part of his fruit abilities to cooperate with physical skills. Without contact with the ground, he cannot quickly condense rocks, resulting in a lack of means in combat. It is a pity that Lucar has a poor talent in swordsmanship, and his use of swordsmanship is not as powerful as his physical ability. After 1 hour. Dong dong dong. A knock on the door interrupted Lucar's exercise. Hello, Lucar, my name is Blake Nishazawa. In the evening, we will have a banquet with the students who are going to the recruit training camp. Do you want to get to know you? At the door. Lucar directly refused. I won't go to the party. It's a waste of time. It's better to practice with this time. The red-haired swordsman Blake Nishazawa smiled and shook his head. Come on, Lucar, we are all from West Blue. When we arrive at the headquarters, we must be united and cannot be compared to people from other seas. Nishazawa persuaded Lucar again. No, you are really strong if you are strong, and everything else is imaginary. Lucar closed the door of the dormitory directly after speaking. It's really hard to get in touch. I don't know if the two monsters on the North Blue side are like this. Nishazawa was not angry, and there were not many who did it alone in West Blue. Nishazawa's philosophy at Marine Long University is to focus on teamwork, and he does not particularly understand individual combat. At the dinner, the Navy cadets from all over West Blue gathered in the warship restaurant. Among them, 10 Marines gathered for a drink. In the center of the crowd was a man with long blonde hair wearing a white shirt and looking very handsome. This aristocratic seaman seemed to have seen something, put down his hand and looked at the expensive cigar. Walker, it was too ugly for you to lose today. Walker was sitting in the corner alone, with a bandage on his body. He had recovered his basic mobility and was drinking alcohol alone. He became angry again when he heard the mockery when he was in a bad mood. Walker looked directly at the source of the sound and angrily said, Shut up, Victor, you really want to be so powerful, why don't you challenge the monster, or hide behind you, scream. Hee hee, no matter how strong the monster is, you don't have to obey the orders honestly when you get to the headquarters. Walker, the same is true for you. In the end, you can only be the subordinate of a superior person like me. Victor was not angry with Walker's reaction, but gracefully took a sip of the red wine glass, and then spoke slowly. When you arrive at the headquarters, people like you can only slowly climb up from the bottom. Even if you graduate from the training camp, you will be at the rank of lieutenant in your unit. Later, you will have to make a lot of feats at sea to be promoted. I am different from you, as the Freeman family. At least I graduated from the rank of lieutenant colonel. Maybe I am your direct officer, ha ha ha. Ha ha, come, to the future Lieutenant Colonel Victor a drink. Yeah, how can a reckless like Walker understand Lieutenant Colonel Victor? This time I omitted the word for the future. The trainers around were complimenting Victor. Walker suppressed his anger and turned to continue drinking. HMPH, just look at it, isn't it because of a noble background? Lucar's monster is definitely not that simple. Except for the conflict between Freeman Victor and Walker, there are more than a dozen trainers who are watching all this with cold eyes. The remaining group of people is headed by Blake Nishazawa. Nishazawa does not have Victor's noble background, nor does he have a deep relationship with the Marine, nor is it Walker, Lucar's powerful lone wolf. Nishazawa was born in a traditional Marine family. His ancestors were Marines in West Blue. There are several generations of people in the local area who have a wide business relationship. In addition, Nishazawa's personality is relatively easygoing, and he attaches great importance to communication and unity. The remaining group of Marines who looked down on Victor, and did not want to act alone, have been reunited silently to Nishazawa these days. In the next few days, the warship traversed West Blue, picked up several reporters from various branches, and then headed towards the Grand Line. Chapter 6 Challenges. Advertisement. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Within a month, one after another Marine warships from the Grand Line branch arrived at the Naval Headquarters. Warships from the four seas are still sailing on the road. At this time, there are calm belts on both sides of the Grand Line. At present, no warships from the four seas can pass through the calm belt. The two calm belts intersect with the Red Line, separating the sea area into four sea areas in the southeast, northwest and north. Among them, there is no wind and waves in the calm belt, and the mainstream sailboats will have no power to move forward in the calm belt. In addition, there are countless giant Poseidon beasts living in the calm belt, and it is extremely difficult to cross the calm belt. The fleet of the four seas can only enter the Grand Line from the Red Line, through the upside-down mountain, and the naval headquarters is at the other end of the Grand Line. On the last day of the month, the four seas fleet finally arrived at Marineford. Woo! After the sound of the ship's horn, all West Blue seamen quickly rushed out and came to the deck. The ship's horn remembered, which meant that it was about to land. Assemble, line up. Norris Rear Admiral on the warship waited early on the bow and drank to the seamen who came out. Lucar stood in line with the other Marines, a total of 38 people, and now all the soldiers looked at the islands on the bow of the ship. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Following the warship slowly into the Naval Headquarters base, looking from a distance, Lucar saw the huge complex of Naval Headquarters base. Lucar, who had seen many tall and magnificent buildings in his previous life, was still deeply shocked after seeing the Naval Headquarters fortress. The center of the fortress is the most special building. The huge towering city wall is at least tens of meters high. Two huge marine characters are carved on the wall, and the seagull holding the sky bridge is carved between the two characters, symbolizing maintenance. Peace and order in the world. On this huge city wall, there are several quaint buildings. The two superimposed on each other give people a sense of solemn solemnity. As this naval headquarters, the marine recruits standing next to Lucar were also extremely shocked. The previous branch base was incomparable to the headquarters base. Norris Rear Admiral on the side looked at the shock displayed by the seamen and smiled. When he was young, he saw naval headquarters for the first time, just like them, they were all so shocking. The warship docked in a crescent-shaped port, where rows of warships have been docked, demonstrating the military power of this naval headquarters. Okay, don't read it, I will take you to the recruit training camp base to report. Norris Rear Admiral shouted. Yes, it was already past 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Norris took Lucar and his group through many building complexes to the recruit training camp base. What a big square. Walker sighed on the side. Now they are standing in the square of the training camp, at least 100,000 square meters or more. There are many equipments placed in different positions, and it seems that they should be used for training. A countryman, that's what you know. A voice came from Walker's right hand, it was Freeman Victor. Victor, you be *********D. Walker clenched his fists and became increasingly unhappy with Victor. If it weren't for the right situation, he would have gone up to give him a punch. Norris, who was in the front, ignored it, but hoped that they could maintain such energy in the following training. He had heard that Zephyr had made sufficient preparations for this training camp. Thinking of Zephyr's preparations, he was fortunate that he had not participated in it. Norris led the students to a 5-story building. After registering with a Marine who was in charge of the reception at the door, he turned to the seaman behind him. This is the dormitory for the first batch of training camp students. The West Blue branch students are on the 3rd floor. Their names are posted at the door. I won't send you in. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning, everyone will gather on the playground. Don't be late. Here we will make a difference. I hope you all graduate successfully and defend marine justice. Yes, all recruits salute. After Norris finished speaking, he looked at Lucar and glanced at the playground. Go. Advertisement. Lucar looked confused and didn't understand what it meant. Lucar, isn't your kid planning to see the methods of this department? Now that I have completed the task, I will accompany you to practice both hands. Upon hearing this, Lucar's blood rushed up, but Norris Rear Admiral still remembered it. Let's go. Norris took the lead towards the playground, followed by Lucar. The West Blue recruits on the side froze in an instant. FK, he actually wants to head-to-head with Rear Admiral. Is Lucar so fierce? I wanted to start with Rear Admiral before I came to the headquarters. Don't be long-winded, hurry up and see what Rear Admiral can do in advance, so you can't miss such a good opportunity. None of the West Blue Marines went to the dormitory, and all followed to the playground to watch the duel. The Marines in the other branches upstairs in the dormitory heard the movement downstairs, and when they came downstairs, they heard that the new Marines of the branch were going to challenge Rear Admiral, and they all ran to the playground with excitement. Fight against Rear Admiral, it's terrible. Sakazuki, I seem to be a newcomer from West Blue, let's go take a look. The speaker was a big tall man, wearing a yellow shirt and small round sunglasses, looking like a foolish man. The seaman who was with him was also 3 meters tall, wearing a red shirt, carrying a big sword, and wearing a certain blue and white baseball cap. His face looked like a gang boss. Headquarters Rear Admiral, let's go, Pelusolino. The two of them walked out of the dormitory together, and the other seamen passing by swept their gazes at them from time to time. There is no way that the two, big tall guys, in red and yellow shirts are too conspicuous, giving people a strong sense of standing out from the crowd. Walking to the center of the playground, leaving a large empty space, Lucar and Norris stood in the center, and other Marines formed a circle to watch in the distance. Lucar, you should be able to do your best while standing on the ground. Come on, let the old man see how far the West Blue monster can reach. Norris said flatly. Okay, please also Norris Rear Admiral. Lucar's face was calm, but his heart was agitated. He has been under pressure on Norris that he hasn't felt for too long. This Marine veteran can definitely bring different feelings. The earth is bound. Lucar folded his hands together and started offensively. Norris felt the movement from the ground and smiled and said, paper arts. When the big yellow hand is about to touch the body, turn the body gently and avoid directly. After avoiding the ground, the movement of the ground was even greater, and the sharp stone pillars kept moving towards the bottom of Norris. Good boy, this stone pillar is too damn sinister. Norris, who was almost touched by the stone pillar, was taken aback. He hadn't seen Lucar's these methods before, and the sudden ground attack almost suffered a big loss, but after reacting, he avoided them one by relying on paper arts. Lucar also had a headache when he saw Norris's body style not far away. This is too flexible. In this case, let's block the move. The rock is closed. With both hands, a huge stone wall was erected in the 4 directions of Norris, and he was surrounded by words, and the speed was as high as 10 meters, and it was about to be closed in the upper part. Good guy. This Rear Admiral won't be defeated like that. Lucar hid too deep, and these tactics were not used on board. Marine onlookers in the distance exclaimed. Few Marines have seen this kind of ability to directly change the terrain on a large scale. It was a bit shocked to see this level of scene for the first time. This seaman is terrible. HMPH, this level of soil wall can't trap me at all. Pelusolino and Sakazuki saw the methods on both sides, and their expressions were a little more serious. What is that? A Marine pointed his finger above the fence. Chapter 7. Advertisement. Puff puff. A sound of trampling on the air came from above, and Norris Rear Admiral seemed to step on an invisible step directly to the sky, out of the excavated wall. What is this ability? How did Rear Admiral fly out? As this devil fruit ability. The Marine recruits from the branch on the side have not been exposed to Marine 6 styles. Currently, Marine 6 styles is only taught in the northern part of Marine. This is moonwalk from Marine 6 styles. An answer came from the onlookers behind the seaman, and the seaman looked back and exclaimed in an instant. Zephyr Admiral. Sengoku Admiral. Yes, standing behind the Marines are the 2 admirals with Marines' highest combat power. Black Wrist Zephyr Admiral. The resourceful General Sengoku Admiral of Buddha. Originally, Sengoku was drinking tea in the Zephyr instructor office of the training camp base. After feeling the movement on the playground, he pulled Zephyr over to see the excitement. Hee, this is Marine 6 styles, you all have the opportunity to learn in the training camp, don't be so surprised. Sengoku said kindly to the Marines. Hearing Sengoku Admiral's words, thinking that he could also learn Marine 6 styles, his eyes were full of enthusiasm. Okay, it's too early to say that, now the 2 fighting on the field are the protagonists. Zephyr Admiral with purple hair said, his arms crossed his chest, and Zephyr without a smile looked a little serious. The seamen of the training camp continued to wait and see the 2 admirals, and turned their attention to the field. Lucar also heard the movement on the periphery of the playground, but he has no time to pay attention now. Only Norris, who has just flew out of the encirclement, is in his eyes. It can fly, which is a bit troublesome, and with that kind of body movement, then try to increase the attack frequency. Lucar stared at the position of Norris and waved his hands from bottom to top. Rock slide. The huge earth wall on the ground cracked and turned into countless rock fragments, plus the previous rock bursts, all smashed into Norris. Faced with such a dense rock attack, Norris could not dodge all of it with paper arts alone. Tempest kick. A wave of half-moon-shaped shock waves blasted out from under Norris's feet, smashing all the large rocks, and the broken rocks that could not be avoided were resisted by the partial iron body. After the large wave of rockfall attacks ended, Norris had a layer of yellow dust on his body, which looked a little bit ashamed, but there was no damage. Huh, young people really don't speak martial arts, you have attacked for so long, it's time to change your husband. Although he was not injured, Norris, who had also consumed a lot of energy, shed a lot of sweat on his head. The increase in age caused his stamina to drop somewhat quickly. Looking at Lucar, who seemed to have no consumption while standing there, he knew that he could not drag on like this anymore. If he dragged on, his stamina was completely consumed. It is still for Lucar's fruitful ability. A trace of envy. Norris, who had begun an active attack, swooped down from the air and used all his strength towards Lucar. Finger pistol. Penetrating wave. Click. Lucar's earth armor was pierced through a small hole, and finger pistol's subsequent impact continued to attack the flesh, but with the earth armor's block, the remaining power could barely penetrate the muscle surface. This injury was visible to the naked eye under the supplement of the power of the earth, but it surprised Lucar. It has been too long since he has encountered a strong person who can penetrate armor, and the evaluation of Rear Admiral's method of the headquarters is another level. Advertisement. Norris did not end the attack, using one of the 6 shaves to move at high speed, constantly changing positions, and constantly attacking with finger pistol penetrating waves around Lucar. This is based on the knowledge of Lucar's defensive ability that Norris can use a concentrated attack to effectively break through that layer of armor. Blood holes appeared on Lucar's body, and the blood kept flowing out, looking very crippled. But the two of them were clearly aware that this was just a skin trauma, and it didn't hurt the root cause. It was also the first time that Lucar felt the situation of being suppressed in all aspects, and his rock fragmentation boxing skills did not touch the opponent's body once. In addition to that weird body technique, it seemed that he had foreseen the trend of his attack, and was prepared before he attacked, causing him to be in a situation where he couldn't fight back. This feeling made Lucar a little weak, and he could only concentrate on resisting the opponent's attack. Relying on the continuous recovery of the power of the earth to consume the opponent's physical strength, and then look for opportunities to attack, this is the best way he can think of at the moment. There is no way, in the case of obvious speed being crushed, even the attack cannot reach the opponent, and it can only rely on the strong defense and recovery ability to fight the war of attrition. Norris on the opposite side was also uncomfortable. The frequent attacks made him consume a lot of energy, and a lot of sweat dripped from his face. No way, this body is still old, this kid's body is a monster, and if this goes on, I might have to get down first. Feeling that the other party's young and strong body was not shaken at all, Norris sighed. Well, I can only use that, otherwise the old man may really lose to this kid. Armed mixed through waves. With the same finger pistol move, Norris's fingers became pitch black and shot at Lucar like a laser. Seeing Norris approaching in front of him, Lucar felt tight. This only blackened finger brought an unprecedented sense of pressure. Hurry up with his arms in front of him, trying to resist the impact. Boom. The shock wave hit the armor with a loud noise. Lucar was directly hit by the shock wave and flew more than 10 meters away, and a straight line was drawn on the ground. The armor that Lucar had always been proud of was pierced like tofu, his arms were numb as if he had been hit by a sledgehammer, and a huge blood hole was penetrated between his arms, hitting his chest directly. Huh, let's stop here, Lucar. Norris Rear Admiral stood there, resting his knees with his hands, panting. The finger pistol strengthened by armament haki also consumed a lot of energy for Norris. Due to the increase in age, his armament haki requires a lot of physical strength and cannot be used frequently. This time, in order to quickly defeat the young seaman, he could only focus his strength on one shot of his strongest attack. Ahem, I lost. This is the strength of the club. It's really strong. Lucar slowly got up and sat on the playground. Continuously urging the power of the earth, the minced meat on the wounds on the arms and chest began to squirm, continuously bonding to each other for healing. Norris has used even haki, and the quality of this recruit is too high. The school level of this department should not be an opponent. Sengoku said to Zephyr next to him with emotion. Well, it's a good seedling. If nothing else, he can reach the Vice Admiral level at least. Zephyr looked at his future disciple with a smile on his face. Zephyr is very satisfied with Lucar's performance, especially Lucar not only has fruit ability, but also physical ability is not worse than fruit ability. If Norris used observation haki in close combat to avoid the attack in advance, otherwise the result is really hard to tell. Zephyr, I saw that there are still 2 seedlings of Lucar's level. Sengoku asked. Well, those 2, called Pelusolino and Sakazuki, both come from the North Blue branch. Zephyr pointed to the 2 big tall men protruding from the front. It's over, let's go, Sengoku, I need to adjust the training plan here. You can help me get some supplies from Silver Island. All right, but what are you doing with those supplies? Sengoku looked at Zephyr with a puzzled look. Gifts for the monsters. Zephyr smiled a little weird, turned and walked back. Chapter 8 Zephyr Instructor. Advertisement. The West Blue Marines on the playground looked extremely proud, as if they were Lucar on the field, bragging with the Marines of other branches. There were also a few Marines staying. Nishazawa ran into the field and threw bottles of water to the 2 of Lucar. How about it? Do I need to take you to the infirmary? Thanks, I'm fine, just slow down. Lucar replied. The wound on my body is almost healed after a few minutes. Although there is still some pain, it does not affect the movement. After getting up, he shook his hand with Norris and said with a smile. Norris Rear Admiral, I admire your strength very much. I hope I will have the opportunity to discuss with you next time. Ha ha ha, brat, next time I won't fight you, the old man is no better than you, a young boy, and I still want to retire safely. This time I have a little more experience. When you learn these fighting skills next time, you will basically surpass the old man. The future Marine will depend on your younger generation. Come on, Lucar, I believe you will be the best Marine. After talking, Norris took Lucar's hand, directly hugged Lucar and patted hard. After that, I said goodbye to Nishazawa and left the playground. Nishazawa on the side saw the scene just now, full of envy, and looked at Lucar in admiration. Oh, brother Lucar, you are really amazing. Suddenly, a voice came from behind Luca, the tone of which was humble. Looking back, good guys, 2 tall giants are standing behind. Lucar's 2.5 meters tall looks a lot shorter among them. Not to mention Nishazawa, who was just a normal person. Nishazawa stood a little farther away in silence. He really didn't want to stand with these 3 tall men. Lucar stared at Pelusolino and asked, Are you? No way. Compared with Sakazuki, who was cruel and facial paralyzed next to him, it was obvious that the words just now came from Pelusolino, who had a wretched look. My name is Pelusalino, he is Sakazuki, from North Blue. We are recruiters from the training camp during the same period. I just watched your duel, the strength is really terrifying. Just come over and want to meet my little brother. Poor Salino replied with his lips poked. Lucar had never been in contact with such a distinctive marine. He felt uncomfortable for such an angry weird person, and the muscles on his head were twisted into a tic-tac-toe. It's hard to imagine such a wonderful thing among the newcomers at naval headquarters. Okay, I know now, I'll go back first if there is nothing wrong. Nishazawa, I'm going back. After saying hello to Nishazawa, he turned and walked towards the dormitory. These few times, Lucar's sense of Nishazawa was good. Sakazuki, this little brother is so cold. This marine is very interesting. Sakazuki, who hadn't spoken before, said while looking at the figure who had gone away. There is a faint feeling that people like Lucar are very similar to him. The next morning, the Marine Training Camp base playground. All recruit students arrived on time, lined up in a queue according to their respective sea areas, and stood on a podium more than 1 meter high in front of all the students. Not long after, a group of people came over, headed by a tall and sturdy middle-aged man with short purple hair, wearing a white suit and a marine justice coat. Advertisement. Zephyr Admiral. After this person appeared, a group of marine students from Lucar shouted respectfully. Lucar stood in front of the West Blue queue, staring at the middle-aged man with purple hair in front of him, agitated in his heart. Is this Zephyr Admiral, Marine's strongest combat force? Although Zephyr did not radiate his own strong aura, he stood at the peak of the world all the year round, and as a superior, the spontaneous self-confidence aura hits his face. If the Norris Rear Admiral that Lucar faced before was a hard reef tempered by the sea and waves, then Zephyr is a majestic upside-down mountain that cuts off the 4 seas and opens up to the sky. It is not an order of magnitude at all. Zephyr stepped onto the high platform, facing the recruits from all over the world in front of him, looking at the admiration and yearning eyes, he was also excited. I am more insistent on my decision to establish a recruit training camp, and must cultivate more and better Marines. As an admiral, Zephyr is a man who is determined to marine justice. Although he will not kill the pirates, he will never be soft. A large number of inmates in Marine Impel Down prison came from Zephyr. Only this year, there was an accident. As Marine Admiral, his wife and children were attacked and killed by pirates. He is Marine's most powerful admiral. His wife and children have Marine's highest protection. Ridiculously killed. Therefore, Zephyr has strong dissatisfaction with naval headquarters and has even submitted an application for resignation. However, Marshal Sengoku and others tried their best to stay. Faced with the persuasion of his close friends and mentors, he said he did not kill Admiral Softened. In addition, Marine is also the place where he grew up from childhood. In the end, he chose to believe in Marine again and chose to stay. Only the Admiral rank was retained, and he was responsible for serving as the general instructor of Marine School. Marine still trusts the abilities of Zephyr Admiral very much. For this reason, the best students from branches all over the world are selected as the first batch of students of Zephyr Admiral. This is also the first time that Zephyr has served as the chief instructor. He cleared his throat and looked straight at all the students. From today you will officially enter the training camp to start your studies. No matter which branch you came from before, you are now a member of Marine Headquarters. After that, there will be only half a day off every week, and a unified cultural course training will be conducted every Friday to teach the headquarters of some military orders and the time of navigation. The rest of the time is skill training. The top 50 students in each assessment form a special training class. The remaining students are ordinary classes. The old man teaches the special training class personally. The members of the special training class follow the ranking of each assessment. Certainly, everyone has a chance to enter. Lucar heard that there was also a cultural course expression that became distorted. He knew that when it was over, don't even think about entering the top 50 in the cultural course exam. It would be good to pass. What Lucar didn't notice was that one of the recruits from the North Blue branch showed the same expression as him, and it was Sakazuki who was also standing in the first row. Zephyr glanced at the students below and smiled. Finally, the first assessment is ready to begin. What? Start now. Is it so sudden? The students underneath looked blank, and the first assessment training suddenly appeared. Zephyr pointed to the position behind the platform. 2 large piles of backpacks were placed behind them, namely black and white backpacks. The number of blacks was obviously less. Whether you are practicing swordsmanship, physique, or demon fruit power, a strong physique is fundamental. The real strong on the sea do not have strong physical qualities. This time the assessment is to test your physical fitness and your willpower. The white load bag weighs 100 kilograms and the black 1000 kilograms. All the trainees except Sakazuki, Pelusalino, and Lucar, the others are carrying white weight bags. The 3 of you can only choose a black load bag. Others who want to challenge can also choose black, or you can choose multiple white load bags, and do what you can. After Zephyr finished speaking, he glanced at the 3 Lucar in front of him. As the chief instructor, he naturally knew the information of all the students. The basic strength of the 3 Lucars is obviously higher than that of other students. If they are treated the same, it is impossible to measure their physical fitness and it is difficult to have actual exercise effects. The density of black iron in the black load bag is very high, and the same size has an important gap 10 times that of similar steel. Produced from the Silver Island under Marine's jurisdiction, Zephyr asked Sengoku to bring it here after seeing Lucar's physical fitness yesterday. Chapter 9 Physical Fitness Test. Advertisement. It's troublesome. Pelusolino cast aside his lips when he heard Zephyr's arrangement. He was not very satisfied with Zephyr's special treatment. He just wanted to follow everyone else. Lucar was a little surprised that the incongruous guy the first met yesterday actually lined up with him. Curiously glanced at Pelusolino, wanting to see where this guy is strong. But Lucar didn't think too much, and went straight to the black load bag area, lifted a load bag and weighed it twice. The weight of 1,000 kilograms is still a lot lighter for him. As a person with earth fruit ability, he has outstanding physical quality, but 1,000 kilograms is not enough to bring pressure. All the other recruits were surprised to find that Lucar picked up a load bag that was not enough, took another 4 load bags, and hung a total of 5 load bags on his body. Good guy. 5 load bags, 1,000 kilograms, 5 full 5 tons of weight, not to mention running on their backs, they can't lift them up. Monster. All the Marines have only one comment on Lucar in their hearts. Sakazuki originally took a load bag and put it on his back. Seeing Lucar's movement, he turned around and added 2 more. Now all the seamen and Zephyr looked at the remaining Pelusolino. Pelusolino, who was wearing his small sunglasses, cast his mouth down, and wanted to ignore the contempt in the eyes of others, so he carried a heavy bag out. As soon as he took a step, he felt like a sharp sword was behind his back. Looking back, it was Zephyr's gaze. The look in the eyes is like it says, so just try one. The huge pressure enveloped Pelusolino. He made a cut in his mouth, took 2 more backpacks, and moved to the playground position as a yellow laser flashing. Zephyr instructor, I also choose a black load bag. A rather strong man with a Madara dotted dog hat covering half of his face and a brown beard walked towards the black load-bearing area. He is Dalmesia, and it seems that he is also Zone Demon Fruit Power. He has a small reputation on the Great Sea Road. A student from the Grand Line branch standing nearby recognized it at a glance. Dalmesia as a canine fruit Madara is capable of point dog form. When he is in the branch, his ability is very outstanding. He is very confident in his physical fitness. Walker, who is also Zone Demon Fruit Power, can't help but switch to a black load bag when he sees Dalmesia's performance. Other students who are confident in their own strength are stimulated by the front, and their young hearts are exuding blood fluctuations, and they add weight to themselves as much as possible. Zephyr looked at the action of the young student in front of him, grinning, as if he had seen something interesting. After all the trainees receive the equipment. You have all chosen. From now on, all of you will follow the old man and follow closely. It is forbidden to leave the team. In addition, all those with fruit abilities are forbidden to use their abilities. Zephyr stood in front of all the students and walked outside the training ground of the base. All the students were confused and didn't know what Zephyr meant, so they could only follow silently. The strange thing is that Zephyr didn't go too fast, only normal people jogging. Lucar followed Zephyr out of the playground and walked to the other end of Marineford Island, through the dense urban area. Lucar, who came to Naval Headquarters for the first time, discovered that this Marineford Island is bigger than expected, and it is not just the Naval Headquarters base office area. Behind the towering Naval Headquarters are densely populated towns. Not only Marine and family members, but also a large number of civilians living here, supplement Marine's many troops. Wow, is this the first training camp for Zephyr Admiral? Advertisement. That Marine is so handsome. A certain young girl pointed at the blonde Freeman Victor. The residents of the city and the Marines saw Zephyr walking through with a large group, pointing and talking in a low voice along the way. Under the gaze of the onlookers, all the students raised their heads upright and showed their best side as much as possible, but occasionally a few whispered gossips came. Those Marines are so tall, are they giants? The giant in the yellow shirt is so wretched, not like a good person. Individual residents looked at the outstandingly tall Sakazuki and Pelusolino. Their height and dress were too conspicuous among the students. Pelusolino raised his eyebrows, not angry, but waved his hands to the young girl around him. Little girl, I will invite you to have tea next time. Silent, Zephyr heard the movement behind him and drank, and glanced at Pelusolino. He was very dissatisfied with this kind of old fried dough stick-like student character. He didn't look like a soldier should have. Zephyr had great prestige both among the students and the surrounding residents. The scene fell silent for a moment, and everyone did not speak anymore, only the students stomping on their feet. After passing through the lively urban area, some trainees who have not had enough physical fitness training began to feel a little strenuous. Continue to advance 20 kilometers, a mountain has appeared in the distance, many students' speed has dropped, and they are constantly panting for breath. The 3 of Lucar, who carried the most weight, also felt a little muscle soreness. Dalmesia's Madara dog hat was soaked in sweat, but the pace was still relatively stable, and there was clearly a lot of energy left. The last walker with a black weight bag was already trembling in his legs. Although his grizzly bear fruit can increase a lot of strength, his endurance is obviously not as strong as he thought. Zephyr felt that the speed of the team was declining, and some students were about to fall behind, and he yelled. You can't do this, you can't even keep up with the 42-year-old old man, so you can still be called an elite. If you can't even reach the basics, please go back to the original branch. The fallen students heard Zephyr scolding and taunting. No student wanted to leave the headquarters, wasting the best opportunity, and forcing themselves to stimulate their potential to keep up with the advancing troops. Finally, after traveling another 10 kilometers to the foot of a towering giant mountain, Zephyr stopped. Behind Lucar found that although Zephyr Admiral did not carry any weight, there was no change in Admiral for more than 50 kilometers, as if he was going for a walk. Zephyr looked back at the students who arrived at the destination and collapsed on the ground. All the students successfully arrived with a sly smile on their faces. The mountain in front of you is as high as 1,000 meters above sea level. This assessment really begins. The top 50 students who have climbed to the top first, if they have reached the top of less than 50 people, they have reached the altitude ranking and take the top 50. What? More. Climb mountains. All the students were shocked, thinking that the weight-bearing movement was an assessment, but they didn't expect that the real feast would only appear when they were just appetizers. Climbing with weights and walking forward with weights are completely two levels of difficulty. Walking up high places consumes more energy than normal walking, not to mention that they have just experienced a lot of exhaustion, and the students mourned all over. Zephyr instructor, can I use devil fruit to recover and move forward? Walker, who was already on the ground, asked Zephyr. Zephyr looked at this silly big guy and smiled. The increase in devil fruit's ability is largely due to the users themselves. Only when the users are fundamentally strong can devil fruit perform better. For example, if devil fruit can double the increase, you spend a lot of time to triple the development of devil fruit, then you are strengthened 3 times, and if you double the strength of your body, the original with the increase of devil fruit, you will strengthen 4 times. It takes a lot of time to develop devil fruit's ability. At this time, you can improve your basic quality more than twice. You understand this. This time Zephyr patiently explained the reasons for not allowing devil fruit to be used. Only in this way can the students' bodies be fundamentally trained. Chapter 10 Mountain Climbing. Advertisement. Lucar looked at the mountain in front of him. The highest point was still covered by a layer of cloud and mist. He sighed slightly at the foot of the mountain, sinking his heart and moving on. The 5-ton weight is traveling for a long time and climbing the mountain, which is also a bit stressful for him. After all, Zephyr stipulates that the ability to use fruits is prohibited and cannot be restored by the power of the earth. Other trainees who had spare capacity saw Lucar lead the advance and followed closely. At an altitude of 200 meters, almost 1/5 of the students fell on the hillside, unable to move forward. At an altitude of 400 meters, another 1/5 of the students fell. At an altitude of 600 meters, it is now only a quarter, and more than 60 students are still advancing. At 700 meters above sea level, Walker the Grizzly fainted on the ground. The high altitude air was scarce. He was exhausted and stopped moving. There were fewer than 40 people remaining. At an altitude of 750 meters, Freeman Victor, a nobleman, lay on the ground and lost his mobility. At 800 meters above sea level, Blake Nishazawa from West Blue couldn't hold on, and stopped here. At 900 meters above sea level, only 4 Marines are still moving forward. What fell at the end was that Dalmisia had already exhausted his energy, and moved step by step completely relying on his own will, slowing down for a few minutes every 1 meter. No one of the people in the forefront thought that it was Pelusalino. This terrible guy who usually took a bite ran in the forefront, and Lucar and Sakazuki fell more than 2 meters away. Brother Lucar, your physical strength is really good. Sakazuki, you are almost overtaken. Pelusalino turned around and said, obviously there was more energy, but he admired Lucar quite a bit. Without using devil fruit, he can still carry a weight of 5 tons. If he carries the same weight as him, he may have already reached his destination. Lucar is a strong man, he has contacted no less than Sakazuki. This load-bearing mountain climbing was also stressful for Pelusalino. Although he has a monster-like body, he is mainly based on devil fruit. He is almost exhausted now, and he persisted with a breath. Even though the 3 of Lucar are very young, Pelusalino is actually 26 years old, the oldest of the 3, and the most time to exercise. Although he is usually lazy, but he can become the most known as a monster with the self-confidence and pride of a strong man. Hoo-hoo. ×2. In the back, Lucar and Sakazuki were not as interested in chatting as he was. Both of them were already on the edge of the limit, relying on a strong will to maintain a breathing rhythm, and there was no room to answer. Sakazuki looked even more tragic, with blue veins on his neck violent, gritted his teeth fiercely, and looked fiercely into the distance, as if there was an enemy with deep hatred standing in front. After stepping through the last high slope, finally ascending the mountain, losing the restriction requirements, Lucar sat directly on the ground and began to use the fruit ability to quickly recover his strength. Suddenly, an inexplicable feeling came to my heart. It seemed that someone was talking in Lucar's ear, and intuitively told myself that it shouldn't be a bad thing. Following the feeling, slowly climbed up, stood at the highest point of the mountain and looked into the distance, while urging the power of the earth, slowly closing his eyes. Buzzing. A muffled voice came to Lucar's ear from the ground of the mountain with the power of the earth, and there seemed to be an invisible big hand comforting his body. Advertisement. The magic is that, with the eyes closed clearly, the shape of the big mountain at the foot appears in my mind completely, and every trace of the mountain can be seen clearly. Brother Lucar, don't be in a daze, the assessment is over, let's go down the mountain and go back together. A silly voice came, interrupting Lucar's feelings, and all the feelings disappeared. When I opened my eyes, I found that I was still standing in place. It was Pelusalino who was talking next to him. He glanced aside and found that all the students were already on the top of the mountain. It was only a moment of insight, but the real time had passed a lot. The assessment is over. All the students have reached the top. Lucar asked a little puzzled. How is it possible? Only you, Sakazuki, and Dalmisia were the only ones who succeeded in reaching the summit. Zephyr Admiral picked up the others, but I was the first. After finishing speaking, he raised his eyebrows proudly. No wonder everyone is here. Lucar directly ignored his show-off. He didn't care about the ranking, otherwise he would not directly challenge his limit to bear the weight. He lowered his head and squeezed his fists and checked his changes. The most obvious thing after the perception just now is that his defense ability has been improved in all aspects, and he seems to be more resistant to fights. In addition, his senses seemed to be more sensitive. When Pelusolino was standing behind him, he didn't see him, but he knew that there was someone behind him. Seeing the students regaining some strength, Zephyr walked to the center, slapped his hands vigorously, and said loudly, "Do you know why I want to bring students who have not climbed to the top of the mountain?" The students didn't know the reason, and looked at Zephyr with doubts. Zephyr didn't wait for their reply, and went on. "I want to tell you that students who didn't reach the top of the mountain will fail. As long as you train yourself hard afterwards, you will be able to climb the mountain like Lucar and the others. I don't want my students to just look up at the mountain from below. This time, I will take you here to enjoy the mountaintop scenery. Next time, I hope my students can take my will to climb to the highest mountain in the world, looking at the world." Zephyr's words made the students present enthusiastically listen to them, and they wished that they would be able to reach the top now, and say to Zephyr, "Teacher, is the scenery here beautiful? Okay, now it's time for you to lay the foundation. I hope there will be one day, so prepare to go down the mountain." After Zephyr finished speaking, he also felt a little bit. He didn't know how many of his students could take their own will and stand on the pinnacle of this world as well. This time it was not as urgent as it was when going up the mountain. The recovering students helped the weaker students and walked slowly down the mountain. On the way down the mountain, "Walker, you trash, a zone demon has only climbed so high, not as good as me, a fruitless person. Victor, you shut up, look at yourself, what kind of noble temperament is there now? Like a refugee, if you have a kind, replace it with a load bag on my body." A pair of enemies began to quarrel again. At this time, the blonde hair on Victor's head was soaked with a lot of sweat and stick together. Regardless of the clothes on his body, he was indeed similar to the refugees. Nobles. What kind of nobles come to be Marines? Marines are not your nobles' games. Among Marines, there is only justice. Sakazuki, who was passing by, said to Victor without a face after hearing the noble status nearby, and left without waiting for a reply. Victor was so annoyed that he couldn't speak. He didn't dare to provoke a student like Sakazuki, who was known as a monster, and could only walk down quickly alone with a dark face. Chapter 11 Marine Background. Advertisement. Victor has not been very comfortable these few days, causing him to become more and more angry, especially after seeing Walker. He can't help but want to pass. Especially this time I saw Walker also ranked in the top 50 and entered the elite class. On the way down the mountain, many students surrounded him, touting Walker's courage and daring to challenge the black heavy bag. In the training camp, Zephyr treats the identities of the trainees equally, and does not care about nobles or nobles. As a result, his identity does not attract a large number of people to follow on the West Blue side. The students who came from other sea areas were not from noble backgrounds, and they were not too impressed by Victor's noble status. The people who originally followed him began to alienate after this weight-bearing training, and began to worship those strong men who could reach the top, which made him feel a little confused about his aristocratic status. After 9 o'clock in the evening, most of the students had already returned to the dormitory to rest and resume their daytime consumption. Victor sneaked out of the training camp, headed to the marine residential area, and entered a large villa. "Victor, why are you here? Isn't today the first day of the training camp?" In the middle of the villa's lobby, sitting a middle-aged man who was also golden, his face looked a bit similar to Victor. "Uncle Connor, why, can't my nephew come to see you?" Victor came in and said hello with a smile. Freeman Connor, Naval Headquarters veteran Vice Admiral, looked at Victor at this time, although he was smiling, but his expression seemed a little gloomy, not as sunny and proud as before. "Don't stand, be polite to your uncle, sit down." Connor Vice Admiral got up, poured 2 glasses of red wine, and asked Victor. "What's wrong, Victor, what unhappy thing happened? Someone bullied you at the training camp? Then I have to ask Zephyr Admiral." "No, Uncle Connor, it's like this." Victor waved his hand quickly and told Connor Vice Admiral about his confusion. Connor Vice Admiral did not answer directly after listening, took a sip of his drink, sighed and said, "Oh, it's normal for you to be confused. You have stayed in the small place of West Blue for too long. Actually, I didn't want you to join Marine, but your parents thought that I just pushed you up here. The Naval Headquarters has changed a lot in recent years. The earliest Marine was established by the world government. In terms of investment, our noble members also invested a lot of resources in it. Seeing that Marine began to grow a little bit, its importance was constantly increasing. Few outstanding talents have joined in, wanting to control power in it, and be able to communicate with the world government more advantageous. At that time, Marine was basically dominated by our nobles. The number of pirates in the back has been increasing. In the years of battle, our nobles lost a lot of talents, and only then began to recruit a large number of civilians to fill up their strength. With the addition of a large number of civilian Marines, the proportion of noble Marines has been diluted, and civilian geniuses have continued to rise, and the power of the nobles has begun to decline, but the influence is still there for so many years. Until now Marshal Sengoku has promoted the current Sengoku Admiral, Zephyr Admiral, Garp, etc., plus Garp eliminated the cross pirates a few years ago. It is a terrorist pirates that seriously threatens the world government. After that, the civilian generals have completely become the benchmark of Marine, and our noble generals no longer have the dominant power in the main Marine. However, Our biggest advantage is that we are backed by the world government, which has the privilege of priority appreciation. The world government does not want to see Marine, which is dominated by civilian generals. It also has ideas to suppress civilian generals and especially supports our nobles. After telling the history of the nobles in Marine, Connor Vice Admiral was also a bit dry. He poured the remaining red wine in one mouthful and looked at his nephew without saying the last word in his heart. Zephyr Admiral may be the target of government suppression. Victor was a little shocked after listening to his uncle's remarks, and he hadn't been relieved yet. Some understood the status of the nobility in Marine. They were privileged, but not that important. Connor watched his nephew's meditation without interruption, lit a cigar, leaned back on the sofa, and looked at the ceiling. His eyes were a little blurred, as if he was missing the glory of the past. After a long time, Victor slowed down, and the initially confused eyes began to firm up. I have decided, Uncle, I will not rely on the noble background anymore. First am Marine Victor. I will put aside my noble status and stand at the pinnacle of Marine with my own ability and regain the glory of the noble Marine. Connor looked at his ambitious nephew, couldn't help thinking of what he looked like when he was young, and smiled and patted Victor on the shoulder. Come on and fly, Victor, I believe you can succeed. Uncle will always be your strong backing. Advertisement. At the same time, the Marine Headquarters Marshal's office, Sengoku was still accompanying Marshal Kong to review and approve internal documents. Finally the approval is over, Sengoku, thank you for your hard work. Marshal Kong put down the files in his hand, stretched his waist, and made the sound of creaking bones. This is what I should do, Sengoku said after taking a sip of tea. Haha, just get used to it. When it's your turn to do it after I retire, no one will help you share it. Marshal Kong, you have to be a marshal for decades, and I have to continue to learn from you. Old, now my body is declining in Tenten, and I don't know how long it can last. It's up to you in the future. Marshal Sora looked at Sengoku with satisfaction. Seeing Sengoku brought out by one hand, he has been promoted to the position of Admiral all the way, and his ability and skill are also very prominent. He is basically a certain next marshal, and his heart is also full of pride. But thinking about Garp brought out in the same period, the smile on his face began to disappear, and a headache. Sengoku, is Garp's vacation over? Why haven't you come back? When Sengoku heard Garp, his face hurt. The D Garp's vacation was over early. I notified him to come back, but he was going to postpone the vacation. The time is uncertain. He said he was going back to East Blue to take his son, and I couldn't contact the D later. Marshal Sora sighed. He knew that Garp was hiding from him now, rejecting his promotion to the Admiral position. Now Marine only has two Admiral. Zephyr's Admiral position is only nominal, focusing on his training camp, and Sengoku Admiral is to take over his position as Marshal, and I look forward to studying in the Marshal's office. As a result of the serious vacancy of the Marine Admiral position, the sea lacks Admiral's deterrence against pirates, and now only Garp Vice Admiral can possess the highest Marine Admiral strength within Marine. But this guy was unwilling to take over. This time he directly found a reason to leave the headquarters, hiding far away, just avoiding the persuasion of Sora. Sengoku, how is Zephyr now? Are there any particularly good seedlings? Marshal Sora abandoned Garp's topic and asked. Sengoku thought for a while, knowing that Sora meant to ask if there were any seedlings that could have the potential of Admiral. At present, the promotion of Vice Admiral in the headquarters is relatively stable. Many outstanding talents have the strength of Vice Admiral, and they are not worried about the lack of Vice Admiral talents. However, Admiral and Vice Admiral are not only one rank missing, the difference in strength can be said to be complete. 2 grades. At present, Naval Headquarters lacks not only the current Admiral, but also the potential Admiral for the next term. The selection of this training camp is really good. There are 3 excellent seedlings with the title of monsters, and they have the potential to be promoted to Admiral. Sengoku thought carefully about the student information he saw on Zephyr and replied. Oh, isn't it? Sora heard that Admiral seedlings were not so easy to find. Sora, who had been Marine Marshal for so long, also discovered Zephyr, Sengoku, and Garp, 3 generals with Admiral strength. And when Sengoku spoke, there were 3 so many seedlings. He believed that Sengoku's eyesight would not speak casually. It was indeed a bit unexpected. Yes, Marshal Kong, these 3 students are all Logia Demon Fruit Power, 2 of them are Sparkling Fruit, Lava Fruit Top Devil Fruit, and the other is very exaggerated in physical fitness, and the fit of the Earth Fruit is very high. Sengoku recalling the introduction of the student information. Top Logia Devil Fruit, that is really worth paying attention to, Sengoku. Next, you will also focus on the training camp situation on Zephyr. Give Zephyr the greatest training support. Just talk about what you need to provide. The headquarter will provide full assistance. Kong the Marshal commanded solemnly at this moment. Yes, I will tell Zephyr myself. Chapter 12 Observation Haki. Advertisement. At the Marine Recruit Training Camp base, the night has shrouded the playground, and there is only a faint moonlight on the playground. Hoo. From time to time, there were a few sharp sounds of piercing the air. In the vast playground, only one tall Marine is still on the playground. After Lucar went back, he did not go directly back to rest. After returning, he stayed on the playground, thinking about everything that happened during the day. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed, and he was surrounded by nearly 100 small stones. During the rapid circling of these nearly 100 stones, it seemed that each one had its own flight path, and no stones collided in the air. Time has come to the wee hours. Lucar slowly opened his eyes, and after repeated attempts in the middle of the night, he found that the harvest on the mountain was somewhat amazing. Part of the fruit ability has been increased, and the use of control has been greatly improved, and now he can control nearly 100 pebble units at will. Previously, it could only be controlled in a straight line at one time, and the method of use was very simple to smash in a straight line. Now you can be qualified to slowly improve your attack skills. But what is more important is the ability to perceive perception during the day, which is more powerful than Lucar's imagination. After his test, he can feel everything within a radius of 1 kilometer from his center. In the process of going down the mountain, I can clearly feel the movements and steps of other students behind me, and even slightly predict the next move. He couldn't help but think of the scene when he challenged Norris Rear Admiral. At that time, Lucar's physical attacks all failed, and Norris could dodge accurately every time. Norris Rear Admiral will definitely have this kind of ability. Can anyone learn this kind of ability? Lucar was thinking about this problem. He guessed that this kind of ability should have a lot of people, otherwise the people with this kind of ability are too prominent and powerful. Every battle can predict your attack in advance, and then choose to dodge or counterattack, then how to let the opponent fight. Too ridiculous, he himself will suffer this loss. At this time, Lucar felt that someone was approaching him, turned his head and looked around, and a tall figure became clear under the faint moonlight. Zephyr instructor, haven't you rested yet? Lucar said hello, wondering why Zephyr appeared here. Haha, I saw your kid staying here since he came back. I was curious to take a look. I didn't expect to see such an interesting scene. I remember you didn't seem to know observation haki before. Zephyr has always paid attention to this outstanding student. Originally, he just wanted to come to understand the situation, but he did not expect to feel the attention of others when he came over. This is obviously the ability that observation haki will also have, which is really unexpected. Observation haki. Lucar looked confused. He had never heard of this inside West Blue Marine. Yes, there are very few people on West Blue who know this. There is very little news in this area. I didn't expect you to get in touch with it so early. Come and try it. Zephyr hit Lucar directly after speaking. Advertisement. When Lucar was still thinking about how to try, he instantly felt Zephyr's boxing, and clearly felt the direction of the opponent's fist attack and the location of the punch. Quickly flashing his body left and right, Zephyr's fists were all missed, and none of them hit him. I'm sure. Observation haki, this talent is amazing. Zephyr saw Lucar's movement basically confirmed, stopped the attack, and said. How do you feel it? The power that can strongly feel the opponent's sound is called observation haki. Once this strength is increased, the position and number of enemies out of sight can be read, as well as the actions that the opponent will take in the next moment. Quote. After Lucar obtained observation haki for the first time, he felt the role of this ability in battle. It was like a perspective hanging, and he was in control of the opponent's actions. Zephyr instructor, this observation haki is so powerful, can anyone use this ability? Lucar asked. Since you have come into contact with haki so early, I will tell you in detail. Zephyr sat on the ground and began to explain. Haki is a potential power possessed by all humans in the world. This power is an innate ability, aura, a murderous spirit, a fighting spirit. When these invisible sensations are manipulated, willpower can be turned into a weapon. A powerful force, people call it haki. Haki is divided into 3 types: seeing and hearing colors, armed colors, and conquerors. In addition to conquerors and the highest level of seeing and hearing colors, most people can obtain this power through practice, and they can continue to practice and strengthen. Conquerors and the highest level of seeing and hearing colors are all related to it as inborn and cannot be obtained through practice, and the highest level observation haki is more rare than conqueror's haki. The highest level of seeing and hearing color can feel the other person's thinking and emotions, and convey the user's own consciousness to others, affect other people's minds and thoughts and resonate strongly, and can even change the other's values and ideology. There is also it is said that the highest level of seeing and hearing color can predict the future. I have never seen this. Like armament haki, you have also seen it before. Naris's final trick to defeat you is to have armament haki blessing. You have to know that there are many devil fruit powerhouses on the sea. Armament haki is the most effective against the fruit ability, covering the armed color can even touch the elementalization of Logia devil fruit. After hearing this, Lucar was shocked. Fortunately, he was able to come to Marine headquarters. If he was still in West Blue, he might not be able to contact him for the rest of his life. Then I thought of armament haki. The role of armed color in actual combat is not small. Norris Rear Admiral's final blow is hard to forget. If the role of the seen and heard color is mainly auxiliary, then the armed color is obviously the fundamental combat power. The promotion. Zephyr instructor, when will I have the opportunity to learn armament haki? Armed colors require strong physical fitness to learn. It is improved according to the user's physical strength. If the body is fragile and it is difficult to practice armed, your physical strength is enough. I suggest you change it after learning Marine 6 styles. Come to study after your body's strength is further improved. In this way, it will be easier for you to cultivate armament haki, and the intensity of the armed color will be higher. Now I feel that I should practice the perception of seeing, hearing and color to increase its strength. Just now, if my observation haki was entangled, you would not feel it. My actions. After listening to Zephyr's suggestion, Lucar stood up and bowed deeply to Zephyr, thanking him sincerely. Thank you, Teacher Zephyr. This time Zephyr's teaching was too important for him. It not only solved his doubts, but also guided himself in the direction of follow-up training. He could feel the selfless care of Zephyr. Haha, isn't this what the teacher should do? Go back and rest. You can come to me whenever you have any questions. Zephyr waved his hand, stood up, patted the clothes with his hands, and finally said goodbye to leave. Lucar stood there watching Zephyr leave, and then returned to the dormitory after the disappeared figure. To this black arm admiral, Lucar respected more than before. Chapter 13. Advertisement. The next day, the training ground base. All Marine students stood in the center of the playground, and Zephyr still stood in the center of the square. Starting today, in addition to normal physical training, I will start teaching Marine 6 styles. Marine 6 styles is a physical technique commonly used by Marine to exceed the limits of the human body. There are 6 types of moves, namely iron body, shaving, and paper. Arts, moonwalk, tempest kick, finger pistol. Many students have already seen it on the playground. Norris Rear Admiral used Marine 6 styles in the playground the day before the school started. Next, I will teach you all kinds of skills. I hope you can better enforce justice in the future. Quote. Zephyr then arranged an instructor in the department to demonstrate Marine 6 style skills one by one. This is Marine 6 styles. It is a practical ability, and individual abilities can complement many of my shortcomings. Especially the moonwalk skill can actually fly, which is too important in the sea. Lucar saw the scene demonstrated by instructor and thought that thinking about the degree of matching of these abilities with himself, it is not that the more abilities in the ocean, the better, but the more powerful the specialization. For the next 6 months, Lucar has been following Zephyr in the elite class, conducting daily extreme potential training, and studying Marine 6 styles. Puff puff. Over the northeast corner of the playground, 2 tall men are fighting in the air, and both sides are fighting against each other with pure physical skills. Iron body smasher. Among them, the purple-haired man saw a flaw in the opponent, and a purple shock wave emerged from his black fist, which shot at the opponent's shoulder like a laser. The square-faced man with a short head facing the panel was hit from the air with a punch to the ground, and fell like a meteorite quickly, smashing a human-shaped crater on the ground. A big, thick hand stretched out from the pit, grabbed the ground, and with a strong support, the whole person jumped out of the pit. Mr. Zephyr, you are a liar. You said you only use Marine 6 styles. Boy, who said that's not Marine 6 styles? The trick just now was the technique of iron body combined with tempest kick shock wave. Don't think it's enough to learn Marine 6 styles alone. It's not too far away. The 2 sides of the match are Zephyr and Lucar. Lucar applied for this match. We hope to learn some further techniques of Marine 6 styles from Zephyr. Yes, he has learned all Marine 6 styles after following Zephyr's teaching, and the learning speed is the fastest among all the students. No way, his physical strength is the only outstanding among the students, coupled with the ability to continuously recover physical strength with the Earth Fruit ability, he has more time to learn Marine 6 styles than other students. Lucar patted the gray on his body and asked Zephyr, can Marine 6 styles still be integrated with each other? Of course, the basics of Marine 6 styles are the same. If you want to develop it further, you have to continue practicing for a long time. You are also practicing iron body well now. Zephyr fell to the ground and watched Lu, who had just attacked without any injuries. Carl said. Lucar smiled helplessly. Zephyr was right. Now he has only initially learned the basic usage of the 6 formulas. The most prominent is the iron body moves, which invigorate the intensively exercised body to give it the hardness of iron. When other students were still working hard to learn iron body, he just learned the skills directly after initial practice. Moreover, as soon as he has learned iron body, he can move freely, and he can also use partial body iron body. Normally, people who initially learn iron body cannot move freely. This move seems to be born for Lucar, but the other 6 moves are a bit slower to learn, a little bit Grandmaster Moonwalk, shaving these 2 skills. Lucar focuses on these 2 moves, these 2 skills can well make up for their own air-to-air and speed deficiencies. Zephyr looked at Lucar and didn't know what he thought of, his eyes narrowed and a weird smile appeared on his mouth. Lucar, the mid-year test of the culture course is about to take place tomorrow. How are you preparing? I heard that your previous grades seem to be unsatisfactory. An awkward expression appeared on Lucar's face, and a drop of cold sweat dripped from his head. Also, okay, I will definitely perform better in this test than before. He stuttered in response. Hey, yes, then I have to pay attention to it. Failure in the test this time will affect the placement of classes, Zephyr learned Pelusolino's tone. Advertisement. As the general instructor of the Marine training base, how could he not know the results of the students? Lucar's achievements in the Marine cultural courses are quite famous. Why, how could it be? Teacher Zephyr, go ahead, I have to go back to endorse. Lucar was a little bit unable to bear Zephyr's yin and yang ridicule, and quickly turned and left. Ha, this kid. Zephyr laughed loudly as he watched Lucar's fall. It's rare to see Lucar's embarrassed scene. He is very good in various physical abilities and actual combat training. Only the other 2 monsters can compare with him. However, Lucar has always been at the bottom in the cultural courses. From admission to the present, not even a test is passed. Going back to my single dormitory, looking at the pile of books on the bedside table, my head was dazed. Lucar thought, I have lived for 2 lifetimes, I can't hide from this stuff, and damn Sakazuki, you betrayed our Justice League. During the past 6 months, Lucar got acquainted with many students and got along well with Sakazuki. The two of them had similar personalities and also had a firm belief in justice. The most important thing is that Sakazuki, like Lucar, has a long-term expectation at the end of the crane in the culture class. But recently, Sakazuki Tenten ran to Nishazawa to make up a lesson. He actually passed the test last time, and only Lucar remained in place, making him very conspicuous. Yes, Nishazawa from West Blue, like Lucar, is very talented in cultural courses. Basically all scores are full marks. Marine-based cultural instructors want to keep Nishazawa at school. In the past 6 months, Nishazawa has been very popular in the recruit training camp with his gentle personality. Even Sakazuki's cold personality will choose to ask Nishazawa for help. Or, I'll go to Nishazawa too, Lucar thought to himself. Staring at the half-meter-high book in front of him, he shook his head. Hey, if you fail, you won't pass. The most important thing to fight against pirates is your own strength. Learning is impossible to learn. As a reckless man, only training strength is enough. 1 hour later, Nishazawa's room. The technique of marine semaphore is. Lucar looked at the notes in his hand with a dark face, his eyes blurred. Concentrate, Lucar, you got sleepy after only 10 minutes of watching it. Nishazawa sat opposite and was wiping the long sword in his hands for maintenance. He raised his head to see Lucar's wandering reminder. To be honest, Lucar is the person with the worst learning ability in the cultural skills category he has seen, none of them. Hee, how could I be sleepy, can I memorize it in my heart? Lucar replied bitterly. Really? Then tell me about the warship maintenance chapter you saw earlier. Nishazawa looked unbelief. Warship maintenance, is there such a content? Ha ha. Well, I gave up, I am not this piece of material. Lucar was defeated in Nishazawa's questioning eyes, put the notes in his hand on the table, and rubbed his forehead. Forget it, test it out tomorrow. By the way, Nishazawa, you can apply for early graduation in half a year. Do you have any plans then? Lucar looked at the other party and asked. In addition to learning from Nishazawa this time, he also wanted to ask about the other party's future plans. Chapter 14 Are you teaching me to do? Advertisement. Marines' first batch of training camps are held every 3 years, but outstanding candidates can apply for early graduation after the first year of enrollment. Lucar has already planned to apply for graduation in advance, and in the second half of the year, he will try to learn armament haki and prepare for graduation to go abroad. He has always believed that no strong can be strong by training alone, and that a lot of battle must be required. According to the news that teacher Zephyr has inquired, elites like Lucar and Sakazuki will most likely be given the rank of colonel when they go to sea, and they will have a separate warship. But the problem is that after going to sea, you can't just polish the commander like a pirate. As a marine, you definitely need warship logistics. Lucar, who has always been good at individual combat, is not good at management. He doesn't think he can manage a warship well. Among all the students observed in the past 6 months, Nishazawa is very talented in this aspect. If you pull Zeiss into your own fleet, you can help yourself solve the biggest logistical problem. Do you want to apply for graduation in advance? Nishazawa quickly understood Lucar's meaning. Yes, if there is a chance, I hope you can come to me. Very direct invitation, Lucar style as always. To be honest, I didn't think so far, let me think about it. Nishazawa thought for a while, but still couldn't make a decision. It was still early to graduate, and he needed to think about it for a while. It's okay, I hope I can get good news from you before I graduate. Lucar shook hands with Nishazawa and said sincerely. He knows that the invitation is indeed very early now, but excellent students like Nishazawa, if they don't consider leading the army alone, there will be a large number of other people's invitations, and saying hello in advance may leave some good images. The next day, at the entrance of the training camp teaching building. Lucar sat blankly on the doorstep, clutching a report card tightly, his eyes looked a little hollow. Brother Lucar, how much did you get in this test? A bashful voice came from behind Lucar, and he didn't need to look back to know that it was Pelusolino, who liked to speak behind him every time. Looking at Lucar who didn't reply, Pelusolino took advantage of his height, bent over and leaned his head over to take a peek. I saw 25 points in red on the top of the test paper, which was very conspicuous. 25 points, it's terrible, brother still didn't pass this time. Ah, failed. Lucar didn't bother to look back, and based on his 25 points in the test, he recognized everything. This is already the limit of his ability. I heard another footstep coming, and based on observation haki, I found out that it was Sakazuki. Lucar immediately looked back with excitement, looking at Sakazuki with hopeful eyes. Sakazuki, what is your test score this time? A smile appeared on Sakazuki's overall stiff face, and he lifted the test paper generously. I didn't perform well this time, so I only passed 65 and just passed the exam. That being said, the smile on his face has not disappeared. The big pass written on the raised test paper was like a sharp sword pierced into Lucar's heart. The expression of excitement stiffened instantly, and the facial expression was restored again, and he said 2 words bitterly. Congratulations. Losing Sakazuki, the last accompaniment, Lucar knew, it was hopeless. Advertisement. As predicted, at 5 p.m., The training camp notified the mid-year performance report, adjusted the student's placement, and Lucar was honorably downgraded from the Marine Elite class to the Ordinary class. Originally, the two classes also had student promotion changes, but only Lucar was demoted due to the cultural assessment. They are still the top students in the elite class, and they can be called monsters in training camps where geniuses are born. Such students are actually demoted. This time Lucar's reputation not only spread throughout the training camp, but also in the headquarters and Marine school. The next day, Lucar left the elite class blankly and walked towards the normal class, with strange eyes coming from everywhere along the way. Ignoring all of this, I entered the training field of the ordinary class and greeted the instructor in charge of the ordinary class. Although the ordinary students here also look at Lucar from time to time, these students are not mocking. After getting along for half a year, I also know that Lucar's strength will return soon, but I feel a little interesting about this way of relegation. Lucar didn't care, but found one thing, which was a bit strange. Today's Zephyr instructor does not appear in the elite class, it is an instructor substitute for Marine school. Normally Zephyr is in the elite class most of the time, but this time neither side is there, and there is no prior notice. After the regular training, Lucar went directly to the instructor's office and found that he was not here either. He touched his chin and wondered. Something is wrong, asked Nishazawa, he is well informed. Walking to the door of the dormitory, Lucar was stopped by two men in black suits. You're Lucar, I'm Ian from the CP department of the world government, and he is Spandane. Now you find a quiet place and you have something to announce. The one who spoke was a fat man less than 1.5 meters tall, wearing a black top hat, and Spandane next to him was a tall man with a height of 2 meters. The combination of the two looked a little funny. World government. Just talk about it. Lucar looked confused, leaned down and looked at Ian and asked. World Government, a world international organization with the largest scale in the world and more than 170 participating countries, and the CP Department and the Marine Department are all subordinate organizations of the world government. As far as Lucar is concerned, the world government has no favors at all. I think that when he was in the West Blue, he had been in the army for 5 years, and he had destroyed dozens of pirate groups. He was the sergeant position. Normally, he can be promoted to the colonel by all these merits. In West Blue, gangs control many kingdoms, among which are the countries that are members of the world government. Various complaints against Lucar and the 166 Marine branch have been suppressed by the participating countries, resulting in him being in the position of sergeant, and the 166 branch has few opportunities for promotion. Ian on the opposite side saw the huge and strong man standing in front of him, blocking the shining light of the setting sun, and looking at him in this way, and couldn't help but feel a sense of humiliation. Ian is a senior official in the CP department directly under the world government. Even if Admiral meets him, he has to be polite. How could he have suffered such humiliation? You, squat down and talk to me. You are not allowed to look at me and talk like this. I am your superior. Dwarf Melon, what are you talking about? Tell me what is going on, I have something else. Lucar didn't pay attention to Ian's order, and continued to maintain his posture. He saw the people of the world government appear, and he faintly felt why Zephyr disappeared today. Most probably, he didn't want to see these people. In the past 6 months, by chance, I heard Nishazawa talk about some Zephyr Admiral things, and knew that he chose to be an instructor for some reasons. At that time, Nishazawa's tone was a bit wrong, and he secretly guessed that Zephyr's things might have something to do with the world government. This makes Lucar even more annoyed by the staff of the world government. Short, Dwarf Melon, what are you d talking about? Ian hates others for mentioning this because of his size, and Lucar directly pierces his most painful spot, making him angry. Lucar, do you know who you are talking to? Please pay attention to your tone. Spandane showed his ferocious expression and stared at Lucar. Are you teaching me to do things? Lucar folded his arms across his chest, his expression indifferent. He didn't think the two of them could do anything to him. He really wanted to do it. It was enough with just one hand. Chapter 15. Advertisement. Ian stared at Lucar fiercely. Very well, I will report to Marshal Sora, and you will know what the result will be. Haha. Lucar showed a mocking smile. Just kidding, I would still be afraid of such small reports. I have never cared about it in my 2 lives as a soldier. Lucar walked straight to the dormitory and directly pushed the two away. Spandane immediately grabbed Lucar's shoulder. Lucar, don't go, things haven't been announced yet. Huh, Lucar looked back at the two of them with a little puzzlement. He was so surprised that he still had the intention to talk about business. This was something he didn't expect, and he couldn't help being a little curious. Since you don't want to find a quiet place, then I will just say that the world government needs to enlist you to the CP0 organization. Your ability is very suitable for protecting the Holy Land. Although Spandane was also angry at the other party's rude attitude, he still had to take care of the business affairs of the world government. Ian, who was next to him, was already dizzy, and he would do the announcement. CP0. Need me to go to the Holy Land. Upon hearing the content of the incident, Lucar was puzzled. Aren't all the people in the CP department directly recruited by the world government? How can you still recruit people from Marine? But Lucar doesn't entangle these issues anymore. He has the same attitude towards the world government, let alone CP that stays in the shadow of the world, which is totally inconsistent with his justice. Yes, CP0 is the most elite department of the CP organization. This time the upper level has taken a fancy to your potential, plus your devil fruit ability is very suitable to protect the world's nobles. I hope you can seize this precious opportunity. Spandane explained that the tone began to be calm. If Lucar does join CP0, it is likely to be above his position. No interest, I won't be a mouse. Now that he had a decision in his heart, he simply refused to go to CP0 and be a dog for the nobles of the world. He couldn't afford to lose this person. After Lucar finished speaking, he ignored Spandane's persuasion and entered the dormitory. Only the remaining two people stared at the direction where he left. Ian pulled out the snail-shaped phone worm from Kabuto. Blue. This is Ian, Spandane, who has completed the contact with Admiral potential recruits. The report is as follows. FK, Ian didn't leave directly after the report, took a gloomy look at Zephyr's office, and murmured. Zephyr seems to have made a request to go to sea for training. I have to check it out. I want him to die for this mess. Spandane glanced at Ian and didn't say a word. For many years, his colleagues had known the character of his colleagues around him. Marshal Marine's office. Marshal Sora looked helplessly at the report in his hand. It was the CP department's complaints against Lucar that belittled, and the content was written with respectlessness and disobedience. There were even a lot of Lucar's work on West Blue a few years ago. Complaint. Zephyr, this kid stabbed those CP people in the A. It took so long to make so many complaints. In front of Marshal Sora was Zephyr. He glanced at the report on the desktop and snorted. Why, you still have to move my students with this little mess. Tell the CP department that I teach all this and come to me directly if you have any questions. Advertisement. Marshal Kong looked at Zephyr, who looked like a guardian, smiled helplessly, and threw these complaints into the trash can. Well, the CP side can't control me, Marshal Marine. This time I just want to tell you that Lucar will respect the people of the world government. He is still young and there is no need to contradict these people. But the world government actually came directly to dig my people. I didn't expect it. It seems that the potential of your disciples is too great, and even the world government is moved. Zephyr was relieved when he saw that Lucar had not been punished. His old leader still thought of Marine in his heart. Well, except for Lucar's side, Pelusolino and Sakazuki's side also came into contact. The two of them didn't contradict too much. They just revealed their intention to cooperate. Marshal Sora looked at the other report and said. After listening to Zephyr, he pondered for a while. In fact, he didn't dislike his disciples' contact with the world government. After all, as a higher-level organization, Marine's highest-ranking military ranks are all issued there, but it is only concerned about such things as his students are targeted. The contact between the two of them is also very good. You can expand the resources and contacts. By the way, Marshal Kong, I will take the students out to sea for actual combat training in 3 months. After hearing this, Sora did not hesitate to agree directly. You can arrange this, and you can just say it if you need help. For Zephyr, he is still very relieved. Whether it is strength or teaching ability, he is the best officer, but it is a pity that he no longer holds the position that Admiral should have. 3 months later, the Marine training camp announced the content of the upcoming sea combat training. All the students were cheering and couldn't wait to go to sea to show their learning results. Lucar is also a little excited. He has been in the academy for almost a year, and he wants to find an opponent to test his current strength. In the training camp, he and Sakazuki could only communicate with other students in physical skills because of their destructive power. Fortunately, there is Teacher Zephyr's personal guidance and training, and he can integrate the skills learned in actual combat. What's interesting is that Sakazuki was originally a swordsman. Zephyr discovered that his swordsmanship conflicted with his own devil fruit. So, with the help of Zephyr, the physical technique was revised, and it was more effective to match devil fruit's ability. In the instructor office of the training camp, Zephyr carefully checked the plan for this sea operation, and planned to follow the patrol route on the Grand Line, and finally arrived at the small island painted with a red cross. This island is called Kola Island. It is a gathering place for pirates. There are more than a dozen pirate groups on the island. The strongest gang of pirates is called the Longfong Pirates, the captain is called Wolf King Eugene, and the reward is 98 million Baileys. Originally, when this pirate island was discovered in the near future, the headquarters had planned to send Vice Admiral to destroy it, but Zephyr stopped him when he learned of the news and used the island as the final assessment of his students' actual combat. No way, the students of Zephyr are too good, especially the strongest ones, the difficulty is too low for ordinary pirates, and it is difficult to play a role in actual combat training. After nearly a year of training, none of Lucar's students have really tried their best. The big pirates carefully selected by Zephyr can be used as the test object this time. Bang! A loud noise interrupted Zephyr's thinking. I saw a sturdy marine wearing a marine justice coat. Haki kicked the door and walked in. Huff ha ha ha, Zephyr, long time no see. Zephyr saw Marine's bold laugh when he came in. The black beard on the opponent's face kept shaking with the laughter. He glanced at the door that had been hung on the wall, and twisted a tic-tac-toe on his head. Gar, you be asterisk 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 D. Can't you walk in normally? The Marine who came in was the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Garp Vice Admiral with the title of Marine Hero. Chapter 16 Garp and the Dragon. Advertisement. Haha, Zephyr, when did you become so angry? You didn't care about it before. Garp said indifferently, reaching out his little finger and scratching his nostrils. Nonsense, before you kicked the door of the marshal's office. Of course I can't control it. Now this is my instructor's office, okay. Zephyr was a little helpless with his old brother. Garp, when did you come back and why did you come to me? Hey, I just came to you shortly after landing. I'm hiding from Marshal Sengoku. Don't tell Sengoku them, Garp said with a grin. Zephyr frowned slightly after listening. Do you really don't want to be promoted to Admiral? Now Sengoku is in charge of Admiral's affairs. He has to learn the position of Marshal, and he is so busy to die. Garp narrowed his smile when he heard about the Admiral incident. Ah, I don't want to be promoted. Admiral is too much trouble. I don't want to be a dog for celestial dragons. Sengoku's brain is so smart, I believe he can handle it. I came to see you this time because I heard that you are going to organize actual combat training at sea. I don't quite understand these planning things. Zephyr should do a better job on your side. I brought my son, and I want to put him on your boat to participate in the actual battle. Garp chuckled and greeted the door with his hand. Dragon, come in and meet my brother Zephyr Admiral. I saw a young man with a tough face coming in, and after seeing Zephyr, he was agitated, exuding a breath of youthful blood. Zephyr instructor is good, I am Monkey D. Dragon. After speaking, he also saluted a military salute. Zephyr looked at the performance of the father and son in front of him, his face darkened, and stared at Garp fiercely. Good guy, Garp, you're going to use your brain now. I gave me a chop and a chop. It seems that I learned a lot from Sengoku. Garp's expression wasn't embarrassing at all, instead he walked forward very naturally, clasping Zephyr's shoulders, and said with a smile. Puff haha, Zephyr, you found all of this, please do me a favor, I don't want to go to Marshal empty for help now. Don't worry, I personally taught the dragon. There is absolutely no problem in terms of strength. It is also the strongest among the students who put you. Zephyr looked at his old brother a little helplessly, and couldn't do anything about Garp, who didn't care about his skin. But when Garp said that Long is better than the students he taught, Zephyr looked dissatisfied. Garp's strength must not be said. It is not an exaggeration to say that Marine is currently the strongest combat strength. He believes that the dragon will be very good after Garp training. But Zephyr's own disciples are not weak at all, and they can even be said to be ridiculously strong. He doesn't believe that Garp's son can be better than the 3 monster disciples he taught. Garp, you said that the dragon is stronger than my student. I don't agree with that. It just happens that this time I went to sea for a real battle to see whose disciple is stronger. No problem, dragon, you can't let me down, ha ha ha. Garp didn't care at all when he heard Zephyr's challenge, instead he slapped the dragon on the shoulder hard with his hands. I see, old man, I will never let Zephyr Admiral down. Long didn't have any fear, instead he looked confident. In a residential villa building in Naval Headquarters, Ian from the World Government did not follow Spandane back to report, but secretly stayed in Naval Headquarters. Ian's short body was lying on the sun lounger by the villa's swimming pool, and the phone worm who had just finished the call aside. His eyes were full of hatred, and he waved his hand to make the servants beside him retreat. The recruit training camp will eventually stop on Kola Island. I have to make arrangements so that the untouchable Lucar will die there. Advertisement. Yes, the content of Ian's phone worm conversation just now is the content of the plan selected by Zephyr for the trial of going to sea. As a senior official of the world government for many years, Ian also has many eye lines within Marine. He won several groups of Marine internal personnel and provided him with some intelligence support. In contrast, he will give some help in the promotion of Marine cooperation, and each side will take advantage of each other's strengths. The next day, all the students came to the port of Naval Headquarters. Zephyr has prepared 5 medium-sized warships. This is the fleet of the students, and Zephyr rides on Garp's warships. Yes, Garp also joined this actual combat training. The news of Garp's return yesterday did not escape Sengoku and Marshal Sora. Sengoku found Garp that night. After some nagging, he found a reason and ran away. The reason for Garp's run this time, Sengoku has nothing to say, helping Zephyr protect the recruits. For the first batch of outstanding Marine students, Sengoku knew how important it was, including Marshal Sora, who also paid the same attention, and could only let Garp leave again. Lucar and others boarded the warship in batches and watched the warship slowly move away from the naval headquarters towards the vast Grand Line. Soon, the naval headquarters disappeared to the sea level, and Lucar stood on the deck, leaning against the fence, with a feeling. His Marine career has been almost 6 years, and the fastest growing is that in this year, he learned too much in naval headquarters. Now Lucar can easily settle himself before entering the headquarters. He can't help but think of his old boss in the 166th branch, Lieutenant Colonel Barlow, and his heart is full of gratitude. Oh, you are the son of Garp Vice Admiral, so amazing. Ha ha ha, of course, I will surpass that old man in my family sooner or later. Lucar was interrupted by a chatter with emotion. He looked back and turned to the young man standing next to Pelusalino. He was also a little curious about the son of the hero Marine. I heard before going to see that Garp Vice Admiral's son will also join this actual combat training. Take a closer look, a very passionate young man, just like the rumored Garp Vice Admiral. He used observation haki to feel the breath of the other party, and he just wanted to say that he was indeed the son of Garp Vice Admiral, and his strength was not inferior to the 3 of Lucar. Perceiving Lucar's probing, Long was not angry, but walked over with a hearty smile and stretched out his hand. Hello, I am Monkey D. Dragon, you are Lucar, I have heard of your news, the strength is very strong, I am very happy to be able to meet you. Lucar is a little uncomfortable with the dragon's enthusiasm. After all, he has been in contact with many students, and Sakazuki and Dalmisia are considered silent. Pelusolino is the kind of yin and yang. Normal Nishazawa is compared moderate. I haven't come into contact with a person as enthusiastic as Long, but he is not disgusted, but he thinks that a person with a character like Long is quite good, holding Long's hand, and replied. You are not bad too. Why don't you have a boat with Garp Vice Admiral? Long showed a look of disgust. The ghost is going to have a boat with that stinky old man. He opens his mouth and shuts his mouth with an iron fist of love. If he can't beat him, he will also let him taste his son's iron fist. Ha ha ha, dragon, you are so interesting. Pelusolino on the side laughed when he heard it. Porsarino, why didn't you see Sakazuki? Lucar looked puzzled. Pelusolino narrowed his smile when he heard Lucar's question, rarely showing a serious expression. Since Sakazuki knew that this actual combat training was the target of the pirates, he has been staying in the room. I went to look for him, and he was full of murderousness. It is probably related to the pirates. Lucar also looked thoughtful. Based on the usual information, he faintly guessed that something unhappy happened to Sakazuki when he was a child because of the pirates. At this time, he was in no mood to chat, and he was hurt by it, muttering in his mouth. Damn pirate. The dragon on the side also felt that the atmosphere was wrong, and did not speak. The three of them watched the sea quietly together. Chapter 17 Kola Island. Advertisement. Half a month later, in the middle section of the Grand Line. Run, how come these damn Marines are still chasing? Boss, why don't you fight with them? If you want to fight, go up by yourself. Didn't you see that the opponent has 5 warships? It's hard to get close to this firepower. A medium-sized pirate ship was tightly entangled by 5 warships, and the distance between the two sides was getting closer. Oh, let me see what the pirate group, the hardware pirate group, the bounty is 10 million Baileys, it's terrible. Pelusolino was holding a dozen wanted lists in his hand, looking for them one by one. NS. HMPH, no matter how much the bounty is, the evil must be eliminated. Sakazuki next to him had a fierce expression, his eyes fixed on the pirate group ahead. As the distance approached, the marine artillery fired first. The magma cannon. Sakazuki couldn't wait for the ship to approach, his hands became hot, and magma fireballs flew out of his hands and hit the opposite pirate group. Damn it, what is that, Marine's new weapon? The captain of the hardware pirate group looked at the magma fireball shot from a distance in horror. Boss, I can't stand it anymore. The pirate crew yelled for a while. Many of the pirate crew were directly melted by the magma fireball, and flames arose on the ship. Little ones, throw away all the materials on the ship, hurry up and speed up. The captain kept commanding. This method has shown some effect. Smaller pirate boats move faster after unloading their load. In this pirate world that relies on sail systems to navigate, small ships will be faster than heavy warships. No way, the materials and personnel on the warships are more abundant than the pirates, and they have stronger defensive attack power than the pirate ships. On the contrary, the heavy load causes the warships to be faster than the light pirate ships. Damn it, hurry up. Seeing that the pirate ship might escape and out of the attack range, Sakazuki burst into flames. This was the first time he had encountered a pirate group that was a little smarter, giving up supplies at a critical moment to speed up the escape, which was beyond his expectation. At this moment, Lucar walked to the bow and spoke. Porasolino, let me try this time. Every time when the pirate group was too far away, Pelusolino had solved it in the past. His sparkling fruit was too fast, he could fly, and he had more maneuverability than everyone else. But this time Lucar wanted to practice his hand and try his attack range limit. Put your hands together and shout. Rock slide. This time, unlike the previous Norris Rear Admiral, a huge circular rock with a radius of 5 meters was condensed directly above the warship. With Lucar's control, it accurately smashed into the surroundings of the metal pirate ship. The entire pirate ship was torn apart by huge rocks, and the water in that sea area was stained red, leaving only the wrecked wooden planks floating on the surface. Phew, observation haki is so practical, Lucar thought when looking at the wreckage of the destroyed pirate ship ahead. The hit rate of abilities such as rock avalanches has always been low. After learning observation haki, it can be effectively locked. The only regret is that the speed of condensing rocks at sea is still not fast. Sakazuki saw the pirate who had been wiped out, and his expression calmed down. Advertisement. Lucar, what is the limit of your shooting range now? I haven't tried it, but it should work within the range of my sense of color. Sakazuki was envious after hearing this, and now his observation haki has not fully awakened, but has enhanced some reflexes. However, the dragon on the side was more envious than Sakazuki. He looked at the 3 people in front of him and admired each other's fruit abilities. The 3 Logia fruit had a powerful attack range and distance. At present, he can only use close-to-body techniques to fight, and can only watch the 3 of them make various shots. He doesn't even have a mobile phone meeting, and regrets agreeing that Garp put him and Lucar 3 on the same boat. Yes, the trainees on this warship are only the 3 of Lucar and the dragon, and the other trainees are on other ships. Zephyr mainly considers that the range of his 3 trainees is too large, which affects the battle of other trainees, too. It's easy to get hurt by mistake. This group of pirates was just an episode in the middle of Lucar and their voyage. After a month, the fleet gradually approached Kola Island. What Lucar didn't know was that something uncontrollable happened on this trip to Kola Island. Time goes back to 5 days ago, Grand Line Kola Island. The entire island is circular, and the internal structure has 3 layers of ring-shaped areas, which look like a circular archery target from above. The most central layer is about 1/5 of the area of the island, and is where the Spangled Pirate Group resides. The Longfong pirates can occupy the core position of the island. In addition to the Captain Wolf King who has the ability to crush other pirates, the Longfong pirates also have the largest number of crews, with nearly 2,000 crew members. After several years of operation he completely became the leader of this pirate island. In the center of the location of the Longfong pirates, there is a 5-story castle building, formerly known as Duisburg, which seems to have a history of nearly 100 years. The personal residence, as for its former owner, has completely disappeared in this sea. Blue. In the underground secret room of the castle, Eugene bold and grandiose sat on the sofa in the secret room, with a delicate tiger skin on it, and the whole person looked very haki. Eugene squeezed the phone bug directly after the communication, his face was gloomy, and said to the other man in the secret room, "FK, why the damn marine is staring here, Yuta, what do you think?" Sitting next to him was Eugene's younger brother Yuta, who was also the deputy captain of the Spike Pirates, and his strength was quite good. Unlike his brother's majestic appearance, Yuta was covered with fat, and his eyes were almost squeezed by the flesh of his body with only one slit left. Yuta was gnawing on a chicken leg and heard the muffled voice of his brother Kaido, "Big brother, isn't it just a group of fledgling new marines? Just kill them all, and you can get 200 million Baileys." When Eugene heard his brother's answer, he came up angrily and slapped Yuta's forehead severely. Eat, and you know how to eat. The dam knows that I won't give you devil fruit. You really have eaten as a pig. Yuta looked aggrieved. "Big brother, just some marine newcomers, can't you just kill them casually?" When Eugene heard this, he slapped him several times. "You know what a fart, you really think it's so easy to kill, why don't the other side do it yourself? These 200 million Baileys are very hot. These newcomers dare to act on us. There must be a Vice Admiral level master escorting them behind them. There may be more than one." When Yuta heard what the eldest brother said, he was a little embarrassed. Then eldest brother, since Marine is escorted by Vice Admiral, shall we withdraw first? Eugene sat back on the sofa, tried his chin with his right hand, and thought for a while. It must be withdrawn. We may not have been able to fight Vice Admiral Marine, but we can't just go straight away. The other party said that killing the Marine named Lucar in the recruit can also get 100 million Baileys. I want to make arrangements to show these young Marines the strength of the big pirates. Regardless of whether the plan is successful or not, they are ready to retreat after a blow. Remember that this news should not be leaked to other pirate groups, they have to attract my attention. Okay, brother. Chapter 18. Advertisement. In Sabayati Archipelago, in Area 21, there is a small bar that is not very conspicuous. Below this bar is an information exchange. Inside one of the closed boxes. Ian, this time the information has been successfully delivered. The Wolf King guy is very cunning and may not really do things for you, said a man with a faceless mask in the box. Opposite is Ian, who had a holiday with Lucar. Ian was sitting on the high chair in the box, shaking his short legs, with a stern smile on his face. Of course I won't believe that group of pirates. Besides, Zephyr Admiral is escorted. The Wolf King is not an opponent at all. I also arranged another hand. Maybe it's already on the island. There will be a good show at that time. Lucar, you can just go to death. The masked man on the opposite side glanced at each other dreadfully, and he was too cruel after provoking such a canthus. At the same time, a man wearing small sunglasses and a ponytail boarded Kola Island. The ponytailed man wore 2 axes around his waist and a straw in his mouth. He swaggered into a bar in the second ring area of Kola Island. The damn captain doesn't know where to go to get his body. Alas, I can only let me, an honest person, come here to find historical text messages. The warships of Lucar and others have arrived at the southern port of Kara Island, and the other 4 warships landed in other directions of the island, encircling the pirate island from all directions. This time, apart from the 4 people on the Lucar warship carrying out assault operations alone, the other students were basically in the form of teamwork. People like Nishazawa, Dalmesia and others led other students to form a team and march forward in an army. On Lucar's side, the pirates on the shore had discovered their warship, and organized one after another to open fire, trying to sink the warship with a lot of firepower. Let me do it. Lucar stepped forward and slapped both hands, directly condensing a huge stone wall in the port to isolate the shore thief and resist the artillery fire from the shore. Pung pung pung. The sound of gunfire from the shore continued, but it couldn't penetrate the thick soil wall. The warship landed successfully, and Lucar jumped ashore first and made a big hole in the stone wall. Let's go. It's time for these pirates to accept justice sanctions. Seeing a large area of pirates ahead, it seemed as if they were back in West Blue. Pirates, go to death. Sakazuki couldn't help it for a long time, and rushed directly into the crowd, slamming a punch in the direction with the largest number of people. Big eruption. Hot magma mixed with red flames spouted from his fist, and the pirate in front of him melted directly under the high temperature, and even the body was not left. What? All kinds of fierce screams echoed in the air. Sakazuki's magma is too lethal. Just the splashed magma can melt the human body, and the pirates on the side have suffered heavy casualties. However, the number of pirates is more dominant. Many pirates have come to Sakazuki and chopped them down with a weapon in their hands. Ah, my knife melted. A pirate threw away only the handle of the knife, and the blade melted when it touched Sakazuki's body. This is the elementalization of natural fruit, which can transform the body into an element corresponding to the fruit's ability. Without armament haki, there is no way to cause even a little damage. The entire coast has become a real purgatory with the great eruption of Sakazuki, with heat radiating everywhere. Pelusolino's fingertips shot golden laser beams to kill the remaining pirates. It's so hot, let me change my direction and go now. Then it turned into a laser and disappeared quickly. Lucar and Long then each chose a direction to disperse. To be honest, Sakazuki's ability to lethality is strong, but his own people are not so comfortable. There is magma everywhere on the coast, and teammates have to hide. Advertisement. Lucar chose a direction toward the center of the island, and sensed the movement of people in front of him through observation haki. I was surprised to find that not all of the pirate islands are pirates. There are also native residents living on this island. They live in the outermost ring area of the island, and provide fixed pirates through farming every month. Food to provide shelter. The vast majority of residents belong to the Longfong Pirates group. Because they paid most of their food, the local residents here were unkempt, skinny, and blind in their eyes. There was no sign of asking for help to Marine, who was swaggering in the center of the road. Only a few small children took a curious glance. Lucar felt a little distressed when he saw this scene, and hated the pirates on the island even more. With the sound of dense footsteps coming from a distance, local civilians nearby quickly hid in the house after hearing the sound, and closed the doors and windows tightly. Mom, the bad guys are here again. Stop talking, be quiet and hide away. That's the Baihong pirate, this young man is dead if he doesn't run yet. Oh, it's a shame to be so young. The surrounding residents heard about the discussions in the house, and Lucar used observation haki to hear them clearly. These residents hadn't even seen Marine, could not recognize their Marine uniforms, and didn't know what Marine's landing would affect them. Call. Lucar took a deep breath and stared blankly at the pirate group coming down from a high slope in the distance. He didn't care what the pirate group was for him. He just wanted to quickly clear the island. There are too many cruel things in this world. As long as there is no power, they will always be enslaved by the criminal pirates like the residents of this island at any time. In West Blue, there are not many such things. Lucar knows that he has no ability to open up the world and establish a new system like the great man in his previous life. He can only continuously strengthen himself, so that his strength can at least eliminate the evil that can be solved. Eldest sister, there is only one seaman. What do the guards on the shore do to eat? Just one Marine has to let the old lady go out in person. It's really a bunch of trash. Give it to me, kill this little Marine for me, and my old lady has to go back to drink. It was Jocelyn, the female captain of the Baihong pirates who was talking. She was quite unique, and it was the first time that even Lucar saw her. The other parts of this Jocelyn are no different from ordinary people, but the arm has 2 elbow joints. It is a long-handed clan that is unique to the Tanner Kingdom on the Grand Line. There is also a long sword that is 2 meters tall on the waist. Kill. Quickly slaughter this kid. More than 50 pirates from the Baihong pirates rushed to Lucar. The residents in the surrounding rooms did not dare to take a peek anymore, as if they knew the terrible end of this Marine. Almost. Rock fist gun. Seeing that the pirates in front of him had been less than 5 meters away from him recently, Lucar sullened his face, squeezing his right fist, and then slammed forward with a forefist. Boom. The ground under Lucar's feet split apart centered on him. A long gully was blasted out of the ground in the area directly in front of him with a punch, and the power of the shock wave of this right punch penetrated all the hillsides behind the pirate. More than 50 members of the Baihong pirate group, directly crushed and disappeared under this shock wave. The blood on them evaporates instantly when splashed into the air, leaving only a faint scarlet blood mist. The sound of seagulls floated across the sky. The only remaining captain of the White Rainbow Pirates, Jocelyn, and secretly stretched out his head to look at the residents after hearing a loud noise. No one spoke, and no one dared to speak, because they forgot to speak because of shock. It was not until a long time that the silence was broken. Chapter 19 Advance, Seeking Collection, Recommendation. Advertisement. Hey, open, what a joke. That young man killed the White Rainbow Pirates with 1 punch. Mom, is this man God coming to save us? No, I don't know. The mouths of all the residents couldn't be closed at all. Except for shock and shock, no one saw such a shocking scene. In their eyes, the strong pirate is already a demon-like terror, killing people, robbery, doing everything on this island. No one can resist the pirate's swords and guns. Who are you guys? Jocelyn swallowed, looking at the young man who had just done something beyond the title of monster, and asked in an incredible way. As a pirate offering a reward of 40 million Baileys, Jocelyn has never seen a strong man of this kind. In her eyes, perhaps only Eugene, the owner of this island, can compete. Me, I'm just an ordinary Marine who defends justice. Lucar looked at the scene before him, his expression unchanged, as if he had just killed a few flies casually. But he had just seen the residents, and the extremely suppressed anger radiated a little. This punch he practiced at the training camp, referring to the physical skills of teacher Zephyr, Norris Rear Admiral, and integrating the shock wave of Tempest Kick into his better boxing method. In the past, fisting techniques such as collapse and shock were more close-knit skills, but this time the rock fist gun combines the sharp penetrating ability of finger pistol and the shock wave ability of Tempest Kick. In the end, he developed the most complete physical skill long-range attack of his own at present, and the power is quite in line with his expectations. It's over. Lucar did not continue to talk nonsense, there was no need to waste time with the pirate in front of him. Step on the ground directly with your foot, and instantly came to Jocelyn. You guy. Jocelyn stared at Lucar fiercely, and squeezed the long sword in her hand with a slightly trembling hand. Shoo shoo shoo. Jocelyn directly drew the long sword, using her long-handed clan's flexible and strong arms, to quickly cut out a series of sword flowers in the front. As someone who has initially touched the realm of iron cutting, although she is not a swordsman yet, she has already made her sword sharper. She believes that if she can cut the opponent, she must have the hope of winning. Of course, this is just her own thoughts. For Lucar, he didn't feel the slightest sense of threat and approached the opponent step by step. Damn, what kind of monster are you? Jocelyn watched Lucar pass through her sword flower like a soft feather, approaching little by little. At this time, she was no longer as relaxed as when she first came here, her eyes were full of bloodshot eyes, and she watched Lucar close to herself viciously. Seeing Lucar easily raise her fist and slam it at herself, she unknowingly slowed down the speed of swinging the sword. Please, don't kill. The words were not finished yet, the fist had already touched himself. Shard rock fist bang. Jocelyn ejected from the place like a bullet and smashed to the ground quickly. Her body twitched violently and painfully on the ground, and soon the movement became smaller. A sunken fist pit had formed in his chest, all his internal organs were shattered, and a lot of blood poured out. This kind of injury can hardly be saved by even the most intelligent doctor. Lucar had no desire to take a look, and shouted to the civilian who was still hiding in the house before leaving. Wait, everything will be fine, justice will wipe out all evil. Turn around and move towards the second ring area. After a long time, after the residents hiding in the house heard the movement outside disappeared, they walked out of the room one by one and saw the complete destruction of the Baihong pirate group. Advertisement. All looking towards Lucar's departure direction, there seemed to be a hint of hope in his numb eyes. Justice. Will it really come? Mom, did that little brother come to save us just now? Yes, we will get better. The little girl's mother said with tears. As a mother, no matter what, I want to give my child the best hope. The second ring area of Kara Island, here is the staging point of more than a dozen pirate groups in addition to the Wolfong pirate group, which are distributed in various locations in this area. In addition to pirate groups, there are also many underground exchanges, criminal trading gangs, and even pirate bounty hunters. The large number of pirate gang members here attract many other gangs to enter, and they feel that it is good to trade or hunt here to get a certain benefit. Earth stab. Lucar put his hands together when he entered this area, and directly carried out the ability of large-scale damage. Locked through observation haki and pierced all the pirates in his area. Before there were a large number of local residents in the area, it was inconvenient to use a wide range of attacks, and could only choose physical skills to confront the enemy. Now you can give it a go. The entire area where the pirates gather on Kara Island is full of fighting sounds, with rocks, lasers, and lava swallowing everything everywhere. Lucar solved the gang of pirates again, and encountered the last thing he didn't want to see in his life as he moved to the central area. After this mission, he was still regretting, why should he choose this direction to approach? That's Nishazawa's breath. Lucar noticed a familiar breath and turned to move closer to Nishazawa to check if he needed help. Kill. Don't mess up the formation, hold on, and fire again when you reach the distance. At this time, Nishazawa commanded more than 30 ordinary class students, using better weapons and a stable team formation, to steadily block the attack of the pirate group of nearly 200 people on the opposite side. This time, Nishazawa successfully united more than 30 students on the warship through his personal strength and charm, and he was willing to follow Nishazawa's leadership to carry out this mission. However, the pirate group on the opposite side still had an advantage in numbers, and the entire Nishazawa team pushed back a little bit. There are a few stronger pirates hiding in the pirate crowd, relying on the cover of their companions to quietly approach. Observing that the students slowly breathed in the neutral position, they jumped out directly and rushed into the army formation. 2 students were directly injured by the knife in the sudden attack. Fortunately, under the guidance of Zephyr's long-term indoctrination, they developed a strong physical fitness and did not completely lose their combat effectiveness. Damn it, change me. Nishazawa saw that the army was a little unstable, and rushed to the front line of the battle first. One sword flow Changhong. Nishazawa quickly drew his sword and stabs, beheading all the pirates who came in, clearing the frontline pirates, and letting himself take a sigh of relief. Successfully saved the crisis in which the army was broken. However, the pirates did not retreat, the key cadre command was still there, and they reorganized to carry out the next wave of offensive. Call. Nishazawa's one-time high-intensity offensive was also a bit strenuous, and he retreated to the army to slow down. Hey, handsome Nishazawa, would you like me to help you speed up the rhythm? Okay, come here and help, wait for the captain of this group of pirates to send you off. Hee, handsome Nishazawa, you are really too generous, that person has started. Lucar, who had just arrived here, hadn't come and said hello to Nishazawa, was directly shocked by the scene in front of him, his eyes showed a confused expression for the first time. Who am I? What am I doing? Why should I come here? Chapter 20 Von Quincy, Seeking Collection, Recommended Ticket. Advertisement. Hee, handsome Nishazawa, please enjoy my perfect dance, ballet gorgeous swan dance. Behind the military formation organized by Nishazawa, stood a burly muscular man with stubble on his face and red lipstick on his mouth. Wearing a ballet costume, began to dance ballet behind. As the muscular man danced, all the students on Nishazawa's side were covered with a layer of green light. After the green light appeared, the movement speed of all the students increased significantly, and they could only repel the attack of the pirates, but now they were killed directly with one move. Nishazawa's swordsmanship was getting faster and faster, and he began to take the lead. Other marine students adjusted their formations to follow. The entire formation shot into the crowd of pirates like a sharp arrow, directly penetrating the encircling circle, and no pirate could withstand this wave of counterattacks. The situation suddenly reversed. Starting from the muscular man dancing, Nishazawa turned from passive and difficult defense to crazy offense. What is this? Why does it suddenly change so much? Damn, I can't hold it anymore. This group of marines have been beaten up, right? Run, you can't stop it. The pirate group was immediately stunned by this wave of fierce attacks. Watching marines crazy attack in horror, morale collapsed, and the remaining pirates with less than 100 people scattered and fled. Lucar was a little relieved now, but his expression was still a bit stunned, as if he saw something that shouldn't be seen. The hand movement did not stop, and directly shot the ground stab to clean up the remaining pirates. Nishazawa knew who was there when he saw the rock and soil thorns in front of him, raised the long sword in his hand and drank it. The battle is over, rest on the spot, and regain strength quickly. Quincy, thank you, it's over. The green light on everyone began to dim and gradually disappeared, and they all collapsed directly to the ground, gasping for breath. Lucar, it's such a coincidence, why are you here too? Nishazawa took a sip from the water bottle and asked when he saw Lucar approaching. I used observation haki to perceive your breath, so I came over and took a look. What was it just now? The expression on Lucar's face was a little convulsive, and it was difficult to accept the reality that he had just seen. Oh, you are talking about Quincy, he is a bounty hunter, a ladyboy from the kingdom of Kamabaka. The other person is pretty good. I ran into it when I first entered this island. I was willing to join me to help kill the pirate. I gave him the head of the pirate captain with a bounty. Just now is Quincy's ability to dance fruit, which can stimulate our potential in a short period of time, but it will consume a lot of physical strength after the war. E. For the first time in this world for so long, I saw such an eye-catching scene. There are many weird races in this world. If the long-hand races before were just a little weird, the she-males now appearing are beyond his understanding and acceptance. Within. Lucar was a little surprised by Nishazawa's words and didn't know what to say, especially when he saw a muscular man dancing ballet in women's clothing, which was hard to disperse in his mind for a long time. He, handsome Nishazawa, is this your companion? So strong, handsome guy, how do you call it? He's called Von Quincy, he loves ballet dancing. Quincy walked over, touched the muscles on Lucar's arm and said. A shudder hit Lucar's mind directly, and he shuddered, and quickly opened the distance with a shave. My name is Lucar, Nishazawa, I'm leaving first, you take a rest slowly, see you in the center. Lucar sweated profusely and didn't want to stay in this place at all. He flashed away after speaking, and the world view might collapse if he stayed any longer. To be honest, Nishazawa was shocked by the operation in front of him. Lucar has always been an invincible tough guy in his heart, and no difficulties are in his eyes. At this time, he saw the scene of Lucar fleeing for the first time, turned his head to look at Quincy, and couldn't help laughing. Advertisement. Ha ha ha, Lucar, you are actually afraid of this. Quincy on the side looked dumbfounded and asked, Guy Nishazawa, didn't that handsome guy just like Xiao Feng? No, he is just a little bit shy, next time you dance him in person. Nishazawa narrowed his eyes with joy, and a weird smile came out of the corner of his mouth. Well, the next time you meet Lucar, you have to behave well. Ah cut. Lucar, who had run 2 kilometers away, suddenly sneezed, feeling that someone was stabbing his back behind him. Illusion, the scene just now is all illusion. I haven't seen Nishazawa today, I haven't seen it. Lucar tried to hypnosis himself, trying to forget what happened just now. Not far from the outskirts of Kara Island, a large warship was parked on the sea. Zephyr, don't walk around, just go up and take a look if you don't worry about it. I'm a little worried about the less powerful students. They have already arranged a team formation strategy for them before they go to the island. I don't know if I can implement it well. It's not that there are observers, isn't it okay to report now? A lot of people were injured, and no one has been killed yet. Well, it's okay to let them get in touch with the cruelty of the sea earlier, this is inevitable, even we can't say that something happened on the sea. Garp, although the damage must be within my expectations, I feel very uncomfortable. I treat them all as my own children. I really don't want to see them suffer casualties. The 2 people talking on the warship are the escorting Zephyr Admiral and Garp Vice Admiral. Garp is still lying on the deck sun lounger, his face is indifferent, even if his son is on the island, he is not too worried. Zephyr is constantly walking back and forth on the deck, with a sad mood directly on his face, holding a phone worm in his hand, and constantly receiving messages from observers on the island. How could that guy come here? Suddenly Garp seemed to be aware of something, the indifferent expression on his previous face disappeared, replaced by a solemn expression. Zephyr has also sensed that something is wrong, and through observation haki, he sensed that a group of pirates that did not belong here was approaching Kola Island. Everyone, follow my command, and the warship will move forward to the right. Hurry up, don't ink. Nishazawa quickly began to command the operation of the warship marine. Although the Marines of this warship were all under Garp, he was very clear about Zephyr's status and relationship with Garp. He heard the command and acted quickly. Gar, how come they come here? Zephyr looked at Garp with a serious face. I don't know, I'm taking a vacation in East Blue recently. I came out with you when I came back, and I don't have time to pay attention to their movements. Garp explained. Well, no matter what, they must not be allowed to land on Kola Island, that is not the object they can reach now. I will do my best, and I will definitely catch them this time. Garp threw the cloak of justice aside, rolled up his sleeves, and prepared for a full fight. Zephyr was full of doubts and glanced at Kola anxiously, but now there is no time to inform. My students must hold on, hope that no one from those guys will enter the island.